Point a shot, rebound, score!
WBZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics finished off their road trip with a record of 3-1 after winning in Denver late last night, 118-106 over the Nuggets. Jason Tatum scored a game-high 29 points on an evening when the home team was without Nikola Jokic. Celtics were missing Derek White due to illness as well. They are now 27-10 on the season. They're back home to play red-hot Sacramento on Friday night. As for the Bruins, the news is much worse. They got run over by Edmonton in their own building, 4-0. Adam Henrique scored twice. Connor McDavid added a power play goal for the Oilers. Brad Marchand's team has now lost 5 straight games.
It's on us to play a better brand of hockey the way that we were, before the break. It's in here. We've shown that we can do it. We just have to get back to that.
They'll visit Tampa Bay tomorrow night. The Patriots interviewed both Tampa Bay offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich and former Houston OC Pep Hamilton for their head coaching vacancy yesterday. Neither man has had a job in the NFL since 2022. The big story of the day, though, is the guy who's the overwhelming favorite for the job, Mike Vrabel, will speak to Robert and Jonathan Kraft tomorrow. In other NFL news, the Chicago Bears have been denied permission to speak to current Dallas head coach Mike McCarthy, but they will speak to Pete Carroll. Also, the Raiders have fired their head coach Antonio Pierce. The San Francisco Giants have signed pitcher Justin Verlander to a 1-year contract. And the New England Revolution traded forward Giacomo Vrioni to CF Montreal yesterday in exchange for $50,000 in general allocation money. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Premier Basement Waterproofing. Mike's son Logan is handling sales. He'll come give you a quote so you never worry about water again. Do what Beetle did. Call 844-LIVE-DRY or visit premierbasement.net. It's game over for water. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Here we go. Boom. I win. Boom. Yeah. It's a buddy.
We've got a passion for Boston sports.
Get angry.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. 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 Mm-hmm. Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Oopity up with a football. 98.5. The Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are the Toucher and Hardy program. Tom Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And you can watch us on YouTube, live on YouTube. Oh, the experience of watching us live on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. And from then on, it is a explosion of the senses. You hit subscribe, and there you are. Christopher Price going to be on the show today. Chris Forsberg, Billy Jaffe, so much. We will review another podcast, Punching Up, a podcast that conceivably makes more money than us and are therefore better broadcasters. We will go through that. And I will tell you this, is have you ever done an at-home test?
The test you were talking about earlier?
No, just an at-home test at all. You've probably done an at-home COVID test.
Oh,
Yes.
sure.
Have you ever done a at-home any other kind of test?
No, probably just COVID. If you're talking about medical testing, it's the only one I can think of.
How about you, Johnny Walgate?
No.
You got that big thing in your head?
No.
They
You
didn't
don't have to do a tumor test?
No, I don't. You have to go to a hospital for that.
You can't swab the back of your head
No.
and figure anything out?
Just every 5 years, you pop in, you lie down, and it's finished. Yeah.
They just put a tuning fork up to you?
Exactly right. You
Okay.
stuck the landing again, Freddie T. Nice job.
No, they did use a tuning fork, I would imagine. Or do they put headphones on you and play different frequencies?
They to test whether or not the tumor has grown back?
No, to test your hearing and if the thing they installed in your head worked.
No.
They didn't?
No.
Did they bring any...
How do they test the thing if it worked?
It's not something that's installed in my head, Fred. They didn't install anything in my head.
I thought you did. I thought you had some kind of implant.
No.
So how do you hear out of your
The
right
hearing
ear?
aids, the hearing aids I have, I don't hear out of my right ear. The hearing aids I have take the sound that goes to my right ear and shoots it over to my left.
Do you put
They're
them
called
in?
cross hearing aids.
Do you put them in?
Yes.
Oh, you put them in?
Yes, every morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're very small.
Yes.
Because
They're tucked behind the ear with a small little
I don't
wire
know
that
that.
goes down here.
I don't
I've never
know that
noticed it.
Yeah, I've never looked at Wallach though for more than a second and a half, so I wouldn't know.
That's mean.
What? I usually-
I'm a handsome guy.
Because if I'm behind someone like at something and I like church
You're sure.
and I see a hearing aid, I'm like, look at that dope.
I've noticed
I
those.
get that a lot.
I've noticed my mom's before, but only because she fiddles with them a lot. She's always having problems with the phone Bluetooth connecting or the
It's
God
so
knows
funny
what.
to me that she even attempts to do that.
That's how I do it. Got Bluetooth phone. It connects right in. I can have a conversation like. Yeah,
my dad won't wear them, and then he never wears them, so he can't hear anything, and he swears his voice is that he can't talk, so he'll sit in the front seat and he'll be of the car like just going. And it's just, but it's wonderful because you can't hear him at all, so it can't annoy you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't care at all.
Oh, he doesn't care if you engage in.
Oh, no. He's
conversation.
got stuff to say, and he's
Okay.
just going to sit there saying it. And if he's driving and doing it, then he'll be going 50, 60, 20, 30. Like, he likes to vary the speed on the freeway.
Yeah.
Sure.
And really jerk that wheel around.
Yeah.
Change it up so no one quite knows what's coming next.
Yeah. Like if he's really got something to say, he'll, for whatever reason, just take the foot off the gas completely because who can do both? And then he'll just jerk that wheel around like no one's business to add emphasis.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to hear about your other tests,
So,
Fred, but just very quickly, do they ever bring in any kind of a dog to sniff your head to see if it can detect anything growing in there, like a lab or a bloodhound?
No.
They have dogs that can do that.
Yeah, that's why I think that'd
They
be
do
cool.
not. They do not.
Like if you show up at Mass General or the Brigham or something, like I know we have all these machines, but come here, King, come here,
No.
come here, sniff that one.
No, just an MRI, which I had recently. I am clean within the last
You take
year.
an Ativan before that?
No. Which, by the way, it was a mistake. You take the MRI, you go and you lie down, and they roll you in, and I feel like I'm being buried alive. It's the worst feeling.
My
don't
buddy
usually
tapped out of his like a week or two ago.
I
know a
usually
kid who
don't
won't
have
take 'em.
claustrophobia, but this is not like I have to get out of there. But I was sweating. It was bad.
Here's what they'll give you Ativan and they'll prescribe it to you, and then you just take it an hour before you go in there, and it will work wonders. I don't know why everyone doesn't do that. It's like.
Do they? I mean, I've only had one once, but I don't remember them offering it up ahead of time. Do you have to ask for it?
Well, a compassionate doctor who's prescribing an MRI would offer it because 99% of people get claustrophobic in them when you go head first.
Yeah.
And I'm not claustrophobic, and I've been in them a bunch. But how far in were you?
All the way in. They rolled me all the way in.
Yeah, I've been halfway in, and it didn't bug me that much. But they offered Ativan, so I took it. Ativan doesn't like knock you out. I guess it could, but like they don't give you enough to like knock you out. So
this small tube, and the top of the tube is like 5 inches above
and
your
you
nose.
can't,
It's
and
the
you're
worst.
strapped down. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
God.
but a compassionate doctor will offer you Ativan, but you can ask for it. Because even Milo, when he was getting his MRI for his shoulder, he's like, "Oh boy, I really don't want it." And the lady at the front desk heard it, and she's like, "Do you want Ativan?" And he was like, "No." And I'm like, "You don't want it?" I'm like, it will help you calm down. And he's like, "No, I don't want it." So I was like, well, "All right, fine." And it actually didn't bug him that much. But my test was on the account of I'm taking this testosterone.
Sure.
And I'm freewheeling nowadays. I wanted to see just how much my fertility had been affected.
Oh. Okay. So this was the your swimmer's test?
Well
I don't
put.
want to say sperm.
Well put.
I don't want to say sperm count because I don't know if we can say that.
Yeah, best you don't. So, yeah. And so there was a collection device.
So you had to produce semen.
and then it had to be directly put into a receptacle. It could not touch anything else. It had to go into this receptacle.
Did you name the receptacle?
No, but it was. I should have named it Doug Henning because it was a whole juggling situation. I couldn't think of a real juggler. No offense. Or I could have named it the Hardy because I had to juggle things around.
Yeah.
But then it has to sit for 20 minutes, and then you extract with an extractor.
Hell
and,
yeah.
And it's a lot like a COVID test. And
An
then put it on the
extractor?
COVID test. It's like a plunger kind of thing, and then you put it in, and then you look at it, and then you go, okay.
You needed a full-size turkey baster for that production.
I mean, I could have used it. I mean, Peter North calls and goes, "How?" So I do this, and I've been taking that stuff we advertise on the podcast.
Oh no!
And so
what's it called? Ropes with a Z?
All right, maybe that's just such a dumb product. So anyway, so I go and I do that, and then I take the test, and then I read the information.
You've had a very good first 10 minutes, Hardy. I just want you to know I've noticed.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, that needed to be said, John. And so
Everyone's it, but go ahead.
So then I test it, and then the test comes out the way it does, and I read what the results mean, and then this means like, hey, it is like what you wanted to have happened, but fear not. In some cases, it could still work. So I'm like, oh. So the chances are very low that it could work, but there still is. It doesn't remove without it. To get an absolute okay from someone, I would still have to go to a doctor because it was just 20 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was 20. If it had to be under 20 million per whatever.
And what was yours?
That's the thing is the test just shows if it's under 20 million or not.
It's like Brown. It's pass fail.
Exactly. and ironically, it was Brown.
Well, that happens with age.
It really does. It ages like fine.
And you're drinking all that Yoo-hoo.
It is true. Well, that's what the doctor said to do before the test.
If you want to produce a good, healthy amount.
Yeah, it said drink Yoo-hoo, and then it came out as ready for slaughter.
So this is interesting, though. Like, so there's
So I did it for no reason, basically, is what I'm telling you.
Right. It's like, you're under, but by how much?
It's
Can't
like
tell you that.
if I was trying to have a kid, I'd have to go and like get off testosterone and start like doing something to get everything back, which you can do. Like once you stop taking testosterone,
Maybe.
like, don't do that because but no, yes, probably like a very, very, very good chance you could.
Right.
Like everything goes. Like your body doesn't just stop producing sperm forever.
Listen,
the gonads.
I've been snipped. So for me,
I'm not saying don't say it for me. I'm saying it's not true information. We advertise testosterone, and I don't want to scare people off of it like they'll never be able to get again.
Oh no. I'm saying in order to have a kid, you would have to get off the testosterone. I'm saying maybe not. And I think that's what your
thank you.
test is
All right,
saying.
yeah.
No. The testosterone stuff is legit.
Okay, right. Thank you.
No.
All right,
What I'm saying is nothing is foolproof. Now I've been snipped. Now I think you're supposed to get checked periodically. I had to get checked a few months after the procedure to make sure that there was nothing there. But as we learned in Jurassic Park, John, nature finds a way.
Yes.
And wild things happen, baby. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be 100% sure, you got to check these things.
At the collective age of, I know your wife is much younger.
Yes.
But at your collective age,
22.
That would be quite a miracle if something happened. But just biologically.
A blessed miracle.
That's true. And then a miracle that would take a lot of prenatal testing and everything else to make
we
sure
consulted, family, clergy, everybody before we decided to have this procedure because it is, against many of our beliefs and teachings. Essentially what we did after our son was born, we waited 3 months and said to each other, it's going to live, right? All right, I'll be right back. And I went to the doctor and said we only
He's
wanted
gonna
to
live. Oh, good.
This one's
up.
gonna make it, right?
Calvin's good.
Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic.
All right, done. All right, I'll be right back.
When I was married, I had absolutely no concern of getting my wife pregnant if I didn't want to get her pregnant. Absolutely none.
Fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely
you
none.
are an absolute fascination to me.
Thank you.
No, he's gone. You've detailed this about how your mind, you're able to.
I've never felt better about myself.
I mean, that's really amazing.
Since I haven't been married, I've never felt better about myself in life. I'm a bit of, if I can just say this, I'm a bit of an anomaly.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know if that's good or bad. I've had people get annoyed with me, but the thing is that if I had to go into the
You've been to dinner, seen a show, and enough already.
exactly,
Yeah.
like, or what's wrong with me? And I'm like,
Right.
I don't know, man. Let me be. It's late. So I assure you, I'm enjoying this. The thing is that so I take this test. I don't. So now there's still no. I would have to go into a doctor's office to get the definitive test, and there's no way. There's no way. I'd be in there forever. I would be able to. What happens is I can immediately be in the right condition, but there's no way I'm finishing the race. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's no way. I would reach the finish line, and then my brain would go somewhere else, and I'd realize it was in the doctor's office, and we'd have to start the process all over again. I don't like that, because it was hard enough at home and juggling the cup and everything else. That was hard enough, but
But I could also envision some hijinks going on with some spillage. With
the cat was walking around. And then so at one point the cup was sitting on the comforter. I was on top of the comforter, and then the cat was plopping around like by the cup, and it was knocking the cup over, and I couldn't find the cup, so I had to shoo the cat away. Get away! Mm-hmm. Can't you see what I'm doing? Get away!
Does the cat the cat wasn't watching?
I don't. I mean, the cat was like, I bet you can't. The cat actually had its paws underneath its chin, and it was like, let's see what's happening. No, but the cat got up and it all of a sudden started getting like, and going, and then like,
it senses the pheromones.
It's a female cat. It was kneading started kneading the comforter, and now the cup's going to and fro, and I'm like, knock it off, Like, why is it? Just get away! Like, why you never do this? Why are you doing it now? Why is this? It's almost like she was so content annoying me. That was what she was looking to do. All right, well, there you go. There's my adventure. That was a couple days ago. So I did it. It came out the way I wanted it. Mm-hmm. And then I read the thing, and I'm like, it seems like it would be a very, very difficult thing for me to make child, given my testosterone regimen, but
which is what you want as you're being responsible. Yet, not to take us down this path again, you would not. It's not a deal breaker if that's something that somebody wanted in the future. You're open to the idea of more children. Which is perhaps the most fascinating thing.
If I fell in love. This unbelievable love, and the person was of a reasonable age to have children. I'm not going to flying to Fiji to some clinic to make a miracle.
You just sounded like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If she is half the man's age plus 7, is willing to have children, can cook, keep a good house.
Yes, Farrakhan's a prophet I think you ought to listen to.
What he can say to you.
Yeah, so of course
you ought to do.
I mean, everything I say is funneled through the cipher of the Honorable Reverend Elijah Muhammad. So, I mean, if it was someone that was of a reasonable age, like if I'm with someone my age, I'm not going to go like do IVF or what is it, in vitro fertilization.
IVF.
I'm not going to do IVF like with a 50-year-old lady to go try to make a kid. But if I was with someone in like their late 30s or early 40s, or someone in their like early 20s,
Oh.
I couldn't deny them that.
No, I couldn't deny myself the joy of teething again, and the years of diapers. Oh,
This is
Heaven.
under the assumption I'm in this like incredible state of love, and I've been with the person for a long time, and they're of an age where we can conceive. I mean, I would do IVF, but the person, I wouldn't do it with an older, like where we were tempting fate. And this is all and then who that would take a process. You don't fall in love overnight.
you'd be tempting fate anyway with your brown productions. The stuff that's coming out of you now, all sickly and old.
But my 2 kids are just delish. And next week,
But you created them when you were young and virile. Now look at you, feeble,
absolutely. So next week I turn 50.
broken seed.
If I was going to have a kid with someone, this would be at least 3, 4, 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. And so I would be 55, 53, 54, 55. Let's say 54, 55. The chances of I would have to be someone like in their mid-30s to like 41, 42. And I'd be 55, which isn't ridiculous, but that means that the person would now have to be like 30. If that makes any sense, or 35 now, which isn't, I don't think, by any way out of the question. But this is just the way it is. Very exciting stuff.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you on both counts.
Yeah, well, let's keep it on the 1 count. Let's keep everything
on the no count.
Let's keep it on the no count right now and see where we're at. All right, very good. We will be back. So much happened last night. Both local teams played at different times.
7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by, what happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened, so change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Go ahead.
The Celtics had a very challenging road trip that started last week with back-to-back games. They took on Minnesota and Houston last Thursday and Friday and got wins in both.
Yep.
So things were looking really good. And then with a day of rest, they went to Oklahoma City and suffered this kind of an ugly loss to the Thunder. So how would they respond last night as they had one more game on this road trip against the Denver Nuggets? Now, the Denver Nuggets, as John was quick to point out this morning, as I said, oh, what do you think of them Celtics last night? Oh, no Jokic, no Nikola Jokic. And I'm like, you know what? The Celtics were without an important player, too, in Derek White. So those two things even out automatically, John. Mm-hmm. Jokic, Derek White.
Same.
The scales have been balanced.
Sure.
So there you go. And let me tell you something. Denver also still had Russell Westbrook.
Long kick out. Brown pump fakes the three. Drives on Jaylen Brown. Throws to the right corner. Westbrook all alone. Takes it and makes it.
So this is the night they're going to knock down a bunch of threes.
Denver makes 11 a game. They already have 4 down. Porzingis catches the entry from Tatum. Elevates and flushes hard with the right hand. Tying the game at 12.
There you go. So Jason Tatum answering everything that Denver had. Yes, the Jokic-less Denver Nuggets last night. Tatum going off in the first quarter. Looked very good offensively, kind of took things over.
Looked real good in the first quarter. Russell Westbrook is 36 years old, and he led the team in scoring last night.
Well, you know what? It wasn't just Russell Westbrook. Jamal Murray, I don't think you give him enough credit.
Closed down by Jaylen Brown. He's off balance. He leans in here. Crazy flip shot with a left hand, and he banks it in at the shot clock buzzer. A shot that had no business going in.
No business. No business.
It went in. It went in. Good for Jamal.
Is that Clint Howard in Parenthood? No business being out there. No business.
Right.
All right, but for every player that again, Jokic-less Nuggets could throw at you last night, the Celtics had an answer.
Enters, saw it coming, it's Holiday, and he picks it off 3-on-1. Holiday for Jaylen Brown, elevates and takes out a couple of days of frustration with a thunderous two-hand slam.
Good delivery, good play, good dunk. Wake up defensively.
Celtics lead 67-64.
Indeed, they did. Peyton Watson getting involved for the what?
Peyton Watson.
For the Nuggets. Right. He had 34 minutes out there last night.
He did. I can't fault it. Statistically, you are absolutely correct.
No, eyeball test, jackass.
They are just in a rough funk here shooting the three. Murray.
A rough what?
What?
Whoa.
Hello.
What was that, Grandy?
They are just in a rough funk here shooting the three. Murray.
Hello.
Whoa.
Listen, there's got to be a safe word, and then everything will be okay.
Owie, 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 tangerine.
They are just in a rough funk here shooting the three. Murray dribbling to his left, attacks Pritchard, lobs it up in the air, and Watson throws it back down, and the lead is down to 3.
Boom shalaka.
Boom shaka.
I don't know.
Peyton Watson. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Averages about 9 points a game.
All right, fine.
Did great.
How about Drew Holiday with the Cappers?
Tatum, entry to Porzingis against Christian Brown. Backs him down, then kick out. Holiday, good look, straight away 3. Got it.
Wow, nicely done. This time kicking out to a shooter wide open.
5 straight for the Celtics, 98-93.
Honestly, offensively, it seemed like there was a lot of that going on, especially late, where Porzingis would get the ball down low, or even Tatum, and they would find that one guy out on the perimeter who was left wide open.
Yeah, you played that clip, 98-93. The game was tied at 93 with about 8.5 minutes to go. The Celtics scored 15 straight points.
Yes.
And put the game away.
Yes.
As they should have against a team that was missing their best player. So there you go. It's a nice win.
Can't give him any credit, John.
What did I just say?
You can't. You said it was a nice win, but
Yeah.
you said it in a way.
I see. Okay.
They'll be home Friday and Sunday to take on Sacramento and New Orleans. Celtics go 3-1 on that 4-game road trip, which was pretty good.
Yes, very good. Very good. The only thing was it was shocking to see them lose to Oklahoma City the way they lost to them. Usually, as talented as this team is, if they lose, you're like, oh, you know what? Tatum was 1 of 9 from 3, or, Porzingis didn't play, or they didn't have everyone available, or they just had a bad shooting night. Sunday was different. Sunday, they were up 10. Oklahoma City dominated them. There was nothing the Celtics could do in Oklahoma City to win that game on Sunday. And it's been a while since you've seen that happen to them. So that was the slap in the face. You're like, oh, there's a team that was much better than they were.
Yes.
So, and the Celtics had everyone available, which hadn't happened in a while. They had everyone available in Oklahoma City and still got beaten pretty badly there in the fourth quarter. So that's the only negative you can take out of that road trip.
And conversely, last night, Denver, without their best player, without their MVP,
they suffered.
But they still played really well. There was nothing they could do, though. There was just they were overmatched, and there's just too much talent. When the Celtics are playing well, you're not going to beat that team, and they didn't.
You know what I watched last night? I watched the second half of the Dallas-Laker game. Dallas was playing without Irving and Doncic.
Yep.
And I cannot stand J.J. Redick. So whatever he's done's worked. Did you hear Barkley go all in on J.J. Redick?
I did hear that,
Yeah,
yes.
he's like, if you're going to come after the king, you best not miss. He's like that. Yeah, I'm going to change the team. I'm going to take that pile of crap and make it good.
He's like, the Lakers suck.
And then
this is what Barkley was saying.
And then they asked, J.J. Redick is cosplaying Pat Riley. That's what I've figured out now that I've studied him a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
He is cosplaying Pat Riley.
Right down to the hairstyle. Yep.
Well, that's it. He's using Grecian formula in his hair. He's gluing it back on his head. He has this put upon arrogance that there's no way is his real personality. It's like which shows in my opinion a great deal of weakness. As did, putting Bronny James on that team and letting him play in the NBA. And not saying, if you're and he's like, the NBA and, you got to praise the NBA and why isn't everyone praising the NBA? This is his big thing. That's what he got into it with Barkley about, TV, all I do is just see on the TV, everyone's crapping on the NBA. But he's like, I can't watch games because I don't have, cable or whatever. It's like, okay. And the thing is that if you are such a steward of the game and a protector of the game, why did you let Bronny James play in an NBA game? Why did you let someone who didn't deserve to play in the NBA play in the NBA? You made it a circus. And the ratings and I'll tell you why the ratings are down. Is because the game where Barkley was going off, the highlights that were playing in the background for no reason, were the Celtics and Timberwolves game.
Yeah.
There were 103 shot in that game. It's ridiculous. In that Dallas-Lakers game, which Lakers lost and was very fulfilling to me, they lost by a lot. I mean, it was Dallas would make 3 3-pointers in a row, the Lakers would call a timeout. Dallas would make 3 3-pointers in a row, the Lakers would call a timeout. And then Dallas would make a 3, and then Anthony Davis would come back on the other end, and he would drive to the hoop and get to. But you knew Dallas was going to win because they were hitting threes, and Los Angeles was relying on Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you that Austin Reeves can play.
Yes.
No, he can't.
Oh, he can.
No, he can't.
He had a bad game, but
I don't think Austin Reeves is very good. I actually don't. I think Austin Reeves is not a good player. I know he scores for that team.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a good player on a good team. I think if he's on the Celtics, he doesn't play very much.
Is he a good guy in the room?
Don't know the answer.
All I know is he's got shoes
that makes up for so much.
He wears shoes from a weird company that my son wanted a year ago, and
Really?
they were impossible to find.
Is it one of those Chinese?
Yeah, they're Chinese.
Chinese shoes?
Yeah, they're Chinese shoes.
All right, let's.
By the way, LeBron James is old.
Yeah, he's 40. That's right.
I don't know if you knew that. With all the hoopla around him.
I saw a new commercial where he's doing stand-up, and Kevin Hart is in the audience, and I think he's making sport of Kevin Hart sitting in the audience while LeBron is doing the stand-up, and Kevin Hart did not like that.
I think Kevin Hart is getting everything in while he can. before the bottom falls out.
I don't know. The man is everywhere. Everywhere.
Well, that's what I just said.
He's
I don't know. He said, I don't know.
Everything.
Yeah, I think you said, I don't know. I'm agreeing with you. I said that I think that he's getting everything in while he can before the rug is pulled out from under him. If you listen to enough Cat Williams and 50 Cent.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. They haven't been wrong.
Oh, no. 50 Cent could have been do you hear what 50 Cent has said over the years about Puffy? I mean, if Diddy wanted to sue him, he could have sued him. I mean, he just came out and called him gay. He just came out and said all this craziness about him. 50 Cent has not put any.
Yeah, it's more the Cat Williams thing. It's like, people look into Cat Williams now like he's morally safer because he is very funny. I think he's funny.
I think Cat Williams is funny too. He's insane.
I like a lot of his stand-up. Yeah, but the stuff that when he's talking seriously about this stuff, he's just one of those funny people. He's just a funny person. Even when he's speaking seriously, you can't help but laugh. But he's dead serious about all this stuff. Has been for years.
Yeah, and so I take what he says with a grain of salt. I just think there's a lot of smoke around that. Paul, go ahead.
So on Friday's game against the Rockets, Drew Carter started coming back at Barkley. He was saying, "Oh, this product, is so terrible compared to the '80s. '80s basketball was so great. Everybody loved '80s basketball." And Scal was clapping along with him like a seal.
Well, first of all, what was there to clap along to? Was Scal just pretending to? Was Scal laughing?
He was like, "Oh yeah, you're so right." Basically, since Gorman retired, Scal has become intolerable. He's just become so intolerable.
He's trying to carry Carter. He's trying to prop up Drew Carter. Probably is the problem.
As much as I love Wallach being on the broadcast with you guys, I wish he got the radio gig and Grandy moved to TV.
Well, that is a huge insult to Drew Carter. You think Grandy's better than him? No, I'm just kidding. How would Drew Carter know if the '80s was better?
And
he wasn't even a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
He's seen video, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I can't
26.
I can't go around. I don't go on here and definitively say the 1961 season was a real. That was a real downer.
That
for the
Roger
NFL.
Maris, he really hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah, I sat down and I watched 75 of those games at the Polo Grounds.
Okay, so I've got a skewed view of this because late '80s Detroit basketball was everything.
As ugly gets.
But it was huge. It was all encompassing, and that's what took everyone's attention. But I would counter that and say, what is as big, or what was as big in the '80s as it is now? The NFL is this monstrosity. What was everybody going crazy over every NFL transaction and player in the '80s?
No. But the NFL has gotten way bigger. You can't. The NBA had. This is. I'll do it one more time. 100 years ago isn't that long ago. It really isn't that long ago. 100 years ago, horse racing, boxing, and baseball were the three. If you pick up any digital, New York Times or Boston Globe, that's what they're covering.
And to your point, even 60, 70 years ago, that was the case.
Sure. So it's not that in the history of time is not a long time.
No.
If the NBA had a run from let's say 82 to now, that's a long run. And maybe it's just settling back into place. That could be the case. Why could it happen to baseball and not happen to basketball?
Right.
It's boring.
Right.
The NBA is boring. It's boring right now. Well, it was boring back then. Okay, that's not an argument.
No, the NBA, the comparison, and I was just thinking about this, scoring was up in the 80s, but teams were scoring 150 and 120 points, but they weren't shooting nearly as many threes. And this goes back to what you were talking about. Now it's whoever makes the most threes wins. Back then it wasn't like that, even though the three-point shot was still there.
Who are the two biggest stars in the NBA, would you say? Just off the top of your head.
Back then or now?
No, now.
Now, LeBron is still the number one
and he's
star.
LeBron and Steph Curry.
And Steph Curry,
yes,
thank you. Those are the two biggest stars in the NBA.
That, yes.
And there's no one that's gonna challenge that. No one. What Jokic is, Tatum is, there's no way.
No.
So there you go. It said maybe it had its run.
So
I'm not saying it's not going to be popular. I'm just going to say it's not going to be as popular as it was.
So we got cosplay Pat Riley, a.k.a. J.J. Redick's reaction to what Barkley said. We'll get to what happened to the Bruins last night. And something happened on ESPN last night for the first time ever. Sports history
Jesus
was
Christ.
made.
All right.
We'll spend the rest of the show talking about it, but we'll get into it
Feel
before
free.
7.
Just do it today, not tomorrow. All right, here are the headlines.
sounds like this? This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Hello, everybody. We are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Hardy, you had so much that you were teasing there. I'll let you take control. You take the wheel, baby. You tell me where we're going.
All right. In case you didn't hear what Charles Barkley originally said about J.J. Redick, let's listen to that first.
We're the reason people ain't watching this crappy product we got. That's JJ. Yeah, us. Like, we out there jacking up 100 threes a night. JJ, you come for the king, you better not miss. Because I can get you, brother, because I got your Lakers games. You can't hide them flaws they got. You just a dead man walking. They got rid of Frank Vogel, who did a good job. They got rid of Darvin Ham, who did a good job. But you came out there thinking you were going to change things with that same ugly girl you went on the date with.
All right, so what's so great about Inside the NBA, and I don't even like the NBA really, what's so great about Inside the NBA is while this is happening, they're so good. While this is happening, the Minnesota Celtics highlights are playing in the background. And Ernie Johnson lets him go, and then he'll go. And then Jason Tatum with his third three of the game. So, like, he's comedically coming in. He's acting like flustered that he doesn't get to do the highlights, but we know that's not the case.
Right.
So he pops in like he's like a brilliant straight man. Like he really is a great
He's
straight man.
Fantastic at what he does.
That show would not be as good without Ernie Johnson.
I agree. I completely agree
well,
with
I can
that.
tell you as a broadcaster, I agree with you too, is that those guys would just be running crazy, and Ernie Johnson coming in and giving a highlight, like saying the highlight occasionally, makes it 10 times funnier because it becomes evident that Barkley's just going off script and da-da-da-da-da.
And he knows, and Ernie Johnson knows when they've kind of blown that out and exhausted all of their craziness, and they respect him enough to go, oh, okay, we're done. It's time. And he gently moves on to the next thing. He is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really, really good show.
Yeah. So that was what originally was said to and about J.J. Redick. Here is J.J. Redick's reaction.
I didn't make it all the way through the clip. I got to be honest with you. My resting heart rate is probably 64. I watched the clip. It was 64. Literally don't care. I have other thoughts, but don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, you have other thoughts, but you don't care. But you thought about it.
Pompous a-hole. Jesus God.
Well, it's not. See, when people act like that, they're insecure. Because they're affectations. Like the pausing and the smacking, they're affectations. It's Belichick did affectations too. Like when Belichick would do the little stuff like he was going to kick your ass, you're not kicking anyone's ass. Like you're not a tough guy. Like, and then, J.J. Redick is sitting there and he's acting like he's this big intellectual, which what has he invented? Like, how is the world a better place because J.J. Redick is in it? So he's cosplaying as Pat Riley, and I'm convinced of it. He has romanticized Pat Riley, and you hear Pat Riley when it comes to the whole situation going on in Miami with Jimmy Butler, is that people are like, Jimmy Butler can ask for a trade all he wants, but Pat Riley won't do it if he doesn't want to do it. Pat Riley doesn't listen to anyone. Pat Riley's his own man, blah, 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 blah. Pat Riley's the best executive in sports. I mean, these are like anonymous quotes from people. And so J.J. Redick has seen Pat Riley, and he's romanticized the whole notion. And he said, if I do my hair like him and I act the way I think he acts, then I'm going to be Pat Riley, which is what Eric Mangini did when he went to the Jets. He dressed like Belichick. He acted like Belichick. When Josh McDaniel got the job in Denver, he wore the same sweatshirts as Belichick. He did.
And maybe there was a time or, at least certain circumstances where that works, kind of dressing for the job you want, becoming the role. But there are way too many people now willing to call you out, and especially on that show we were talking about, where Barkley and these guys will call everybody on their BS and have the platform to do it more loudly than what you can put out there as you're portraying this other person. So people get called on their BS a lot quicker now than they ever have.
Yeah, but don't act like you're better than someone or better than everyone when you're just pretending to be someone else.
Yes.
It's that kind of fraudulent behavior really bothers me. As if you've listened to the show for 1 second, you'll know.
All right, let's move on to the Bruins last night, who played a hell of a game against the Edmonton Oilers. That damn Henrik Q.
Back of the net, Perry sends one out in front. Henrik shoots and scores. The Oilers putting all sorts of pressure on the Bruins early, and they get one just over 6.5 minutes in.
Oh, rats.
Would you buy tickets to a Bruins game right now?
Absolutely not. And
neither would I.
You know what?
I'm going. 2 weeks from.
Did you buy them?
Don't worry about how I got my tickets.
I mean, I'd go to a Bruins game for sure.
But no.
I'd take someone to a Bruins
they're charging
game
for this product. Fred, did you watch the game I saw?
Yeah.
They were bad.
Yeah.
They were bad.
Yeah.
Edmonton is the defending Western Conference champions. They're on a roll. They're playing really well. And you saw just how far away the Bruins are from being good last night.
I think that Henrik goal is when they had like 4 guys, in between the lower
all
face-off
5 guys
circles.
were in between the hash marks. It was like a packed-in zone defense.
And they still got like a tape-to-tape pass out to Henrik, who fired the shot. I think it was like high glove side past Swayman. It's like, how does that even happen?
And they had a bunch of good chances
possible?
against Swayman. Swayman played pretty well. Like they had a bunch of good chances against them.
Yeah, last night was not about Swayman. Last night was they got dominated in front of him, and there was a sequence where Pavel Zacha got stoned on a shorthanded breakaway.
Yes.
And you know what? Connor McDavid's pretty fast. He was behind the defense on the other end,
cool.
and he scores, and the game's over.
Yeah, the Connor McDavid goals just showed how good he is.
Well, as soon as he got loose, it was what was preceding that. Maybe the only highlight of the night. I'll just play it quickly here.
Dust up going on in the near corner. Frederick's trying to get Perry, it looks like, to drop the gloves as the officials.
Corey Perry's 39.
Up the other end, and now the linesman trying to break them up down the other end, and finally the gloves come off, and they're going to square off at center ice.
He slapped him in the face with his glove.
A couple of early rights. He's got Perry bent over, throws another one over to the top. Perry trying to wrestle him, and Frederick's helmet pops off. Frederick's still throwing right hands, and Perry finally goes down.
We go ahead. We got a break.
All right, Trent Frederick, the rule of thumb is get the other guy's helmet off before hitting him in the head 5 times.
And mangled his hand.
Beers was making fun of him for
and
that
by the way,
night.
zero energy from that fight.
No.
Either in the crowd or on the ice.
No, it was Connor McDavid scored like a minute later because Frederick
trouble.
ended up getting the penalty on that. It's the matching fighting, but he got the roughing call, so they were on the penalty.
We desperately have to break.
Okay.
There's no more to add. They're terrible. I wouldn't pay to see them. Now, look, real quick, Cooper Flagg had a dunk that everyone's going crazy about, and I just watched it, and I disagree. You watch it at your own time. I don't even think it's that big a deal.
Okay.
All right, so we'll be back in just a moment. We'll get to the Patriots.
sports.
Saka across, they scored. Point a shot, rebound, score.
WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Leslie Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics finished off their road trip with a win in Denver last night, 118-106. This was a tie game with under 9 minutes to go, but the Green ripped off a 15-0 run to put things away. Jason Tatum scored 29 points in the win, and his team capitalized on the absence of Nikola Jokic on the other side.
Maybe with Jokic out tonight, just knowing that there was less rim protection tonight, more opportunities to attack. We didn't shoot the ball as well as we normally do what we would like, figuring out ways to still find ways to score and get high percentage shots.
Celtics will play 4 of their next 5 at home beginning Friday night against Sacramento. The Bruins lost their 5th straight game, 4-0 to Edmonton at TD Garden. Adam Henrique scored twice for the Oilers. They are 15-3-1 in their last 19 games. The Bruins are now only 1 point ahead of Tampa for 3rd in the division, and they visit the Lightning tomorrow night. Patriots quickly got going in their search for a new head coach by speaking to a pair of former offensive coordinators, Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton. Mike Vrabel is expected to have a formal interview for the job tomorrow. The Chicago Bears have denied permission to speak to have been denied permission by Dallas to speak to Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, but they will talk to Pete Carroll shortly. The Las Vegas Raiders have fired head coach Antonio Pierce, and the New England Revolution made a trade yesterday. They sent forward Giacomo Vrioni to CF Montreal in exchange for $50,000 in general allocation MLS money. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Hardy, Charlie McAvoy, and Tuukka Rask. Call 1-800-GET-HAIR for your free consultation. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your day.
Got your finger on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle. Any of them.
Kelly, Kate.
We're going to get into the Kelce podcast, so I want to stay on time.
Yeah. You just you listen.
Because I want to have a lot of time to sink in.
You listen to those in their entirety.
Yeah, I'm putting my foot down on podcasts, and so we're going to start talking about them quite a bit, and not the ones that like a guy is doing out of his basement, and not like the 311 fan podcasts where the people make a lot of money. I want to start investigating exactly what's going on, how this is the future of broadcasting. Because this is the only thing I know. And and when it comes to macro big decisions, I think that I know as well as anyone else. And if I'm not handing $100 million to someone who's going to be less famous tomorrow than they were today, that I can tell you. And I want to hear what's making all this money and what's the number one podcast that people actually listen to. They sit and listen to it. I'm going to assume everyone that downloads the podcast listens to the whole thing. And that's what I want to know. And that's what I want to know, what everyone's listening to. By the way, Hawk Tua happened in June.
Is that it?
Yeah, she's
Really?
only been around since June.
Oh, God.
And now it's over.
Seems forever.
But my daughter watches two emo kids they're in their early 20s in a car, basically. It's just a guy with like a spider tattoo on his neck, but he looks like he's a very sensitive young man. And then there's another guy who's got lip piercings and like a bunch of like dumb tattoos. But his tattoos are cooler than the other guy, but he shaves his arms.
Okay.
And they're just like
Sounds like Godsmack.
They're just looking at their phones. And then my daughter will be like crying, laughing, and she'll go, "Look at this." And then the guy will be like, "Who took my chicken sandwich?" And I'll go, "All right, so this is good stuff." All right, very good. But I'm too old, you know.
You don't get it.
I just don't get it. I don't get what it takes to be a broadcaster for 25 years and have actual ratings and people that you have to perform to and be judged on a daily basis. All right, anyway. God bless the Rooney Rule, because the Patriots interviewed Brian Leftwich and Pep Hamilton, who are both African-American, in person. They both have not coached for a while, but they knocked that out in one day.
You say a while. That they've been out of the league for 3 years each, and those were the first two interviews.
So I wonder if they paid them to interview him. Like, I wonder, because, like, they obviously fly him on the plane and everything else. Like, but I wonder, because, like, if I'm Byron Leftwich, am I going to just go to New England and do a 3-hour interview or whatever it is? I think it's 3 hours.
Well, even forget about the time. It's like, why should I let you use me?
Right.
What's in it for me?
Because I understand.
There isn't a job in it for me.
I understand,
Maybe
like
an assistant coach job on Vrabel's staff.
I get. Well, Vrabel's not here yet.
No, but the point is, okay, we're going to talk to you guys. Would you be interested in an assistant coaching job if we don't hire you?
So if I'm a minority and I'm like an assistant coach, but it's the beginning, like I'm not going to get a head coaching job. There's no way, and I know that they're using me for the Rooney Rule, but it's experience interviewing with the team. It gets my name out there as someone who interviewed for a job. That I would absolutely do. But Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton are never going to be NFL coaches. They were just brought in. They're literally tokens. They were brought in as token minorities. It's not a good look at all.
Not a good look at all.
It's a bad look for the NFL.
You have minority candidates like Brian Flores and Aaron Glenn that are sitting there that are legitimate head coaching candidates, and you're not touching them.
I have heard people say that Aaron Glenn is the number one coaching candidate. So,
but I mean, they're both sitting there. You have good knowledge of Brian Flores. I don't know if he's radioactive or not, considering the lawsuit against the league. But
it's not the lawsuit against the league that I worry about as much as his relationship with Tua, and he was apparently a huge prick and very, very, very difficult to deal with.
Okay,
from a player side and a management
then you can
side.
put him aside and talk to Aaron Glenn. I mean, either way, there were other minority candidates that have a much better chance of landing a job than these two guys. It's a terrible look. It looks like you hurried through things to get ready for Mike Vrabel, who's going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah, and Vrabel's going to be here tomorrow, and what they obviously wouldn't do is not let him leave. Like, you know, when you hear that, like, he was scheduled to interview with such and such a team on Friday, but he's not going to go to the interview. They didn't let him leave. Like, even if he doesn't sign on Thursday, they spend the night, like, you know, like, think about it. Like, like we're in heavy negotiations. So they'll probably announce he's coach on Friday.
Let's go to Splitsville. Come on, stay.
Is Splitsville Mayo's place? Doesn't Mayo own something?
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
You're thinking of the Ty Law trampoline park.
Defensive player. Yeah. And then the one guy
easy to mix them up.
And then the one guy advertises during the games for the big go-kart place. An ex-player. He has the official like vodka of the NFL.
The Nico Kudavides laps with a Z.
I don't know what it is.
I thought that maybe that is Ty Law.
And by the way, the Raiders have fired their coach, and now there's debate if Tom Brady will want Mike Vrabel. Apparently, they're very close.
So that was the first thing I thought of. It's like, okay, if Brady is really going to have a big influence in what the Raiders do now, and I know he knows a lot of people, but Vrabel would be the most obvious. Okay, here's a guy I played with. Here's a guy I know. Here's a guy that has head coaching experience, and they're in the same position now. They're hiring coach 3 in 3 years, just like the Patriots are. So, yeah,
I'd rather be with the Patriots.
Yeah, it's they're third coach in 3 years, right? Because they took over halfway through last year.
Yes.
All right. So
I'd rather I would too, Fred, but I don't know how much credibility and how much weight to give this Brady factor.
I don't know either. But I heard someone speak. You guys remember Danny Cannell?
Yes.
So Danny Cannell does college stuff now, but, you know, he played in the pros and he was a big shot. I think he played at Florida State. He was like a big quarterback. He said something without mentioning Vrabel, and he wasn't talking about Vrabel, that as I do my due diligence into the Vrabel hiring, made me like the Vrabel hiring. And what he said is this, is that you, as schemes in the NFL go, in like writing up plays and calling plays, you can find guys that can do that. Like the difference between 1A and, you know, B1 is not that much of a difference. Like it's like everyone's got film on everyone. You can like watch what people are doing. You can mimic it. It's not like finding someone to be an X's and O guy is not the hardest thing. Those can be found. And there's younger guys that can do it. He said what you need from his experience in the NFL and in college is a program setter, is someone that comes in and you go, look, this guy's not the best X's and O's guy in the world, But what he will do is he will come in and establish a culture. And then that culture, then you can rotate even coordinators. Like, so Dan Campbell, who everyone thought was a clown, obviously he was smarter than everyone gave him credit for, but is not, I would say, wouldn't tell you that he sits down and he's a guru when it comes to drawing up offenses and defenses. He knows what's going on, but he's not like the innovative guy. Ben Johnson, when Dan Campbell was hired, was just a kid that was assistant quarterbacks coach or something for the Lions. Like, he had a very low position when they'd worked together in Kansas City, I believe. I can't remember where they first worked together, but Ben Johnson worked his way up. So Ben Johnson, who's now this big hot crap head coaching candidate, what is it, Hardy? Like 2021, did he get the offensive coordinator's job?
That feels right.
2022, maybe he got the offensive coordinator's job. So the idea, and that makes sense to me, like the idea that you bring in a presence like a Tomlin, and I know that the Steelers haven't won anything in a while, but you bring in a guy to establish a program and a culture.
Yeah, he was a passing game coordinator in 21.
The idea that if you go to the Patriots, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, so hang on. So this is the thing, is that I want to continue this thought. So Ben Johnson, who everyone wants as a head coach, was not an offensive coordinator in 2021. It's 2025, the beginning of 2025. He's only been an offensive coordinator for 2022, 2023. Now, 2023, everyone wanted him last year. So he'd been an offensive coordinator for 2 years. What's more likely, that you find a guy that can establish a culture and that you are confident that can happen and you'll have success with that guy over a long period of time, or you're going to be able to find an offensive coordinator kid that's on the staff as an assistant quarterbacks coach somewhere that can end up being an innovative offensive mind? I think that establishing the culture is much more difficult. Running the organization, which is another reason they screwed Mayo.
So now you're on board with hiring Vrabel.
It's a notch in the right. No, I'm acquiring information from people that know far more than me, John. I'm doing my due diligence. As a history major, this is my way.
But
I've been looking at the microfiches in the original text.
You feel different today than you did yesterday about this.
I really like what Danny Cannell had to say. And then I think of like Adam Gase and Kingsbury and like all these guru guys that came in and weren't. I mean, Gase was a maniac. He just sat with Sam Darnold, all day. He didn't even like address the team. He just sat with Sam Darnold. I just think of these offensive gurus that go somewhere and they can't run a program. And then I think of how we talked to Aqib Talib and Vance Joseph, whose name is going back out there again.
I know.
That Aqib Talib, the first meeting that Vance Joseph had with the team, they were like, this guy's a clown. That's according to Aqib Talib. We know Matt Patricia, when he first got up in front of the Lions, the first time he got up in front of the Lions, he was a dick and they all checked out and they wanted off the team. So if we know what we know, and John, you know this from doing the show, and all the players that we've talked to and all the big time players that we've talked to, retired, free to speak. We know Vance Joseph and Matt Patricia lost the team literally the first time that they talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that you need a leader and a guy that can stand in front of an NFL team and command their respect. I don't know that Ben Johnson can do that. I know that Ben Johnson can draw up plays and call plays and works well with Jared Goff. I know that. I don't know if he can motivate like Dan Campbell can motivate or establish a culture like Dan Campbell can establish. So my question is this. If the Lions would have hired Ben Johnson instead of Dan Campbell, would the Lions be where they are now? And I don't think they would be. So now as I process this, because I never was against the Vrabel thing, I was just asking why. Maybe because you are such a train wreck right now, the best thing you can do is raise the floor. And that's what you want. And that's what you get with Vrabel, is you raise the floor.
Yeah,
Who knows where that ceiling is, but certainly the floor is a lot higher than it was.
And the other part of it is you have to know what you're getting immediately. I mean, the Crafts just hired a first-year guy who had no head coaching experience, and it failed immediately. And Ben Johnson is the hot name, but it looks like the Crafts are going to talk to 4 guys. They just talked to 2 of them before. Ben Johnson's supposed to come here Thursday or Friday to talk, and they're going to interview Vrabel tomorrow.
You know why I think they're talking to Ben Johnson is to see what's doing and when he takes another job, so they have some information on him.
Considering it looks like they're going to hire Vrabel, I think there's a lot of credence to what you just said. But with Mike Vrabel, they know him. And most importantly, going back to what you just started this segment with, they know exactly what they're getting. They know what kind of culture he's going to bring, and he has experience too, which is they can't mess this up. You can't hire two horrible coaches back-to-back and maintain any kind of credibility amongst your fans or in this league, because it looks like you lucked into Belichick if that happens. So they have to get this right, and Vrabel is the closest thing to a sure thing to at least get a mediocre head coach, if not a good one.
Can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
And it's just pie in the sky. Would you trade for Kevin O'Connell? Because the Bears have talked openly about being willing to trade for Kevin O'Connell. Would you trade for Kevin O'Connell? Would you give the 4th pick in the draft up to get Kevin O'Connell?
I would not.
Okay.
I would not.
I would not give the 4th pick in the draft for Kevin O'Connell. No.
I don't think I
now,
would either.
A trade, if you're talking about, and the Vikings will never do this, but say the Vikings say, you know what, we'll take a 2 or a 3. Yes, I would do that, but I would never give up a first-round pick for this.
You're in no position to be giving away practically any trade.
What was the cost of Belichick? It was at least one first-round pick. Was it 2? The Jets had 4 first-round picks.
I have to look that up. It was sizable, this thing.
Yeah. So, the trade for a coach is no joke. And the coach has got to be in on it too. But there you have it. I'm gathering my information, and maybe Vrabel is what they have to do.
The Patriots got Belichick a 5th and a 7th for the 16th overall pick, a 4th and a 7th.
Okay, there you go, the 16th overall pick. All right, Reed, go ahead.
I was listening to you talk about how Vance Joseph lost the team on day one, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that Gerod Mayo's problem was that he was Kraft and Belichick's boy? And I guess that leads me to my next question. Do you think the same thing will happen with Vrabel? They're going to be like, oh, it's another one of Kraft and Belichick's boys, and the team's kind of going to be like, F this guy off the bat. I know he's got more respect because he coached the Titans and was away from the Pats for a while, but do you think they might run into the same problem going with another Belichick-Kraft kind of disciple?
I think what happens with Vrabel is that he comes in, and if you give him any crap, you're gone. That there's no one except for May on this roster, including Christian Gonzalez. They just trade him. I just think really with how bad your team is, that you come in, and if you feel that there's any kinks, there's anything that's disrupting things, they're gone.
The other part of it is,
and that's part of the thing of him having a hand in the front office. It's just like, all right, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, and then you just start getting rid of guys. And remember what Belichick did? He brought in all those Jets, all those old defensive players from the Jets, to establish that culture. Go ahead.
The other part of it is none of you guys, Vrabel could come in and say, look, I've won in this league. None of you guys have been successful at all. So you have no right to say, oh, you're good, because you're not.
Well, that's what Patricia did when he stood in front of the line.
I understand that, but this is a little different.
He put his rings on the table.
Yeah, I don't think Vrabel will be an egomaniacal a-hole when he starts meeting with the team, but he does have a certain kind of cachet. He's won Super Bowls. He's been to the AFC Championship game as a head coach, and the team he's taking over is horrible.
That's the thing, is that who's untouchable.
No one can say I don't like this guy because he's a Belichick disciple, because none of these guys are good.
And he will have Mayo couldn't. He can just get rid of you. That's the thing, is he can just get rid of you, and you're gone. And if you don't like it, you're gone. And except for Drake May, there's no one on this team that's irreplaceable. Christian Gonzalez is a very good corner. He's not the best corner in the history of the league. I mean, you could get rid of him if you wanted to. Take a corner at 4. I mean, there's things that you could do.
There's thoughts they may actually do that now.
I know.
That kid from Michigan.
Yep. I'd take the D lineman from Michigan. He's big and fat.
What about the edge rusher from Penn State?
I know all about him. All right, we'll be right back. Christopher Price will talk to us from the Boston Globe.
You're listening to... Brent Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
In the end, I'm a fan of this team first. And now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Christopher Price is the Patriots beat writer for the Boston Globe. Christopher Price, hello, sir.
Good morning, Fred. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's good to talk to you.
It's great to talk to you. How you been?
I've been doing good. I've been doing good. How about you? This is good.
I'm doing well.
You didn't get
just
any time
moved.
off.
Just moved, but other than that, we're okay.
Oh,
you moved homes.
Yeah, we moved homes out to a new palatial estate out here in Framingham.
Oh,
hey.
We're basically neighbors.
Yes,
absolutely.
Love it.
There's an outdoor pool at the Lifetime in Framingham.
I'll see you there this summer, my friend.
I have a friend who likes to go. He likes the females there. He goes specifically to sit in the pool chair and look at the ladies.
Not weird at all.
I don't think it's. I just weird that he says it. Christopher Price. Chances of Byron Leftwich or Pep Hamilton getting this job?
None.
No.
Is it a bad look? We were talking about how bad a look this really is. The Kraft hurried through these two things so they could get them over with before Vrabel came to town.
Yeah, I think you could argue that it was a bad look. And look, at the same time, too, and I said this to someone on social media last night, where there's benefit, even if it is kind of rushed and even if everyone has the same level of understanding about these interviews, there's a benefit to having those guys in and talking to them, especially in my mind, Hamilton. Hamilton's been around for years. He's coached at a ton of different quarterbacks. You get a chance to pick his brain a little bit. And then down the road, if you need a guy, you've had FaceTime with him and you know him. But yeah, I don't think either one of those guys has a chance to be head coach.
Okay, so how do they get the guys to come in? This might sound stupid, but how do they get Leftwich and Hamilton to come in and do the interview? Like, why is it in their interest?
Yeah, for Hamilton and Leftwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of it is kind of just what I said, the idea that, if Byron Leftwich down the road in 5 years needs a job as a quarterback's coach and the Patriots have an opening, or if wherever Elliott Wolf is at that time knows a guy, it's just, there's simple networking things that go into it that I think are advantageous for them. And look, as a guy who's interviewed for jobs that I had no shot at before, there is value there in walking in and just kind of getting a lay of the land and talking to people and kind of getting a broader understanding of what's out there.
I can't relate. I'm always going in alpha style. I'll interview you.
Yeah. That could be an interesting exercise. Okay.
You flip it around like they did in Step Brothers.
That's
right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll fart. And I'll go, what are you going to do about it? And they'll go, I can taste it. And I'll say, it's fantastic. That makes me laugh every time. All right.
So there's reasons for these guys to come in that we can wrap our heads around. But is there any discussion outside of Mike Vrabel that's worth having? Is there anyone else who could say, don't sleep on this guy getting the job?
Brian Flores.
Really?
I think even though he's going to bring some baggage into that interview because of the lawsuit and the history there, I think Flores still works for some people in the building. But look, Vrabel's the guy. He is plan A, plan B, and plan C. And then you get him in place ideally, and then you can kind of start the process of figuring out what sort of role the GM is going to have, filling out the coaching staff, all that. But yeah, right now, Vrabel's the top choice.
Okay, so is the idea that he comes in tomorrow and he doesn't leave? That's the idea?
Yeah, not to put too fine a point on it, but yeah, they want to keep him in the building.
Right.
They want to get a deal done as soon as possible. Talking to people in the organization, they want to get this thing done within like a week. And so they are very much fast tracking it. Obviously, we saw it, yesterday with Hamilton and Leftwich. They want to get their guy. They want to get Vrabel in here as soon as possible, get him to sign on the dotted line and kind of get things rolling.
How much do you think the Crafts are going to change the way the team does business? We spent a lot of time talking about this yesterday. I mean, it's fine to get a new head coach, but don't miss out on an opportunity to restructure your organization and have more people in that can do more things.
Yeah, I think there is something to that one of the things that really didn't help Gerod out at all was the fact that he didn't have a lot of people around him. And I think that some of that may have been the carryover from, the previous administration where Bill didn't have a lot of people around him. And I think they kept it kind of lean when Gerod could have used more people. If they go with Vrabel, I think they're probably going to strike a middle ground there. They're not going to bring in a bunch of people, but they will probably bring in more, assistant GMs and, kind of overhaul everything in that respect. But yeah, I think that they've learned their lesson a little bit when it comes to setting a new coach up for success, because they hadn't had to do it for such a long time.
And they're humble enough to modernize the operation because, everything you hear is that they operate unlike any of the other NFL teams, and it's going to take a major overhaul, like creating multiple new positions and everything else.
I don't think they're going to go crazy and all of a sudden add 1 million new people, but I do think that they are going to take a hard look at football operations and see where people are needed. Look, this is also a franchise too, Fred, they're building that new, building and the practice facility, and they're kind of coming into I don't want to say the 21st century, but they're kind of, they're making changes and they're doing things that they need to do to be able to be in step with the rest of the league.
Okay, so what was it just that Belichick operated a certain way, the Crafts? Because, it sounds stupid now, but, stuff like the weight room and the facilities were the Crafts even aware that there were problems with that stuff? Did Belichick just keep all the problems away from them? Or was it because the alternative would be the Crafts just didn't want to spend money, but I don't believe that's the case.
No. Look, you're winning. It solves not everything, but just about everything.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that go ahead. So Belichick, as far as the Crafts were concerned, they're winning and everything's great. And then so what I'm envisioning is they're winning, everything's great. Then Belichick starts to struggle. Belichick leaves, and all of a sudden, it's like if you were dating someone and then they left you and they had been running all the bank accounts. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I didn't realize we were in this kind of situation. Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, I think there's something to that they didn't know because they had the same head coach, basically the same GM for the last 20, 25 years. And things all of a sudden changed, and it took them a little while to get their bearings. And I think this may have been a wake-up call for them and for the franchise that they need to do things a little bit differently moving forward. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to overhaul everything and it's going to be a completely new, organizational flow chart, but I think that they've had to take a hard look at the way they've done their business. And I would think that they've learned their lessons, what's happened over the last 18 months, 24 months.
I was reading an article from Chad Graff this morning in the Athletic, and he was
competitor.
He was detailing how bad things were behind the scenes that last month. I mean, what can you tell us about some of the things? You talk about Mayo struggled with discipline. He would hang out with players in the back of the plane after a loss. Just weird stuff that you don't see other head coaches do or other head coaches struggle with. Was it really that bad?
I use the phrase, I've heard Mike Reese use this over the last couple of days. It's just the last month was exhausting, where you didn't really get a chance to write a lot about football, and it was more about the soap opera aspects around the team, the relationships, what people were saying, what they weren't saying, who was saying this about who, and all of that. And so they really, over the last month, I think, coming out of the bye, I think that's when things started to kind of slide a little bit. And that's when you heard the backbiting. That's when you heard, more and more of, Keon White. And I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, but Keon White speaking out more and more. You heard that you had the Jelani Tavai stuff. Those things that would have been so out of character for a consistent franchise like this over the previous 20 plus years, you were chasing stories like that as a reporter. And it was just... Again, I'll go back to the same thing I said before. There was not a lot of writing about football over the last month or so, and that made things it made things very different for, as a guy who's covered the team for 20, 21 years now, you being used to write about football, it was just a little different.
Yeah, I just wonder going forward if you're talking about organizationally, the team obviously needs a shakeup in the way they do a lot of things, and Coaching is happening first and foremost. The draft process and the personnel decisions, some of that right now largely unchanged. How much can be shaken up if the people in place so far haven't changed?
Well, so much of that is going to depend on who they're going to hire as a coach. If they want Vrabel as bad as we all think they do, what happens if Vrabel comes in and wants full personnel control? I mean, that's probably going to lead to a minimized role for Elliott Wolf moving forward. He was the guy who made the call in May last year. But, who knows what's going to happen this year. If Vrabel's going to want his own guy, or maybe Wolf and Vrabel can coexist. We'll see. There are guys out there who I think would make good fits as kind of, if Vrabel wants his own guy. Mike Borgonzi, I heard you guys talking about him yesterday. I like Brian Gain, although I think he's interviewing with the Jets now. Will McClay, a guy who's been around for a long, long time with the Cowboys. They're guys who I think could be brought in here to work with Mike Vrabel. But again, it all starts with a coach and the feeling that the coach, in this case Vrabel, would have for his GM. And I don't know in terms of how Vrabel might work with Wolf might work with Vrabel, but I think ultimately it's going to lead to whatever coach is in there. I think in the end, maybe if it's Ben Johnson, you get, Elliott Wolf in more of a forward-facing role. But look, if Vrabel's in there, I think my guess right now is he's going to want full personnel control. He's going to be, he's going to be the guy who's going to be making the calls on free agency. He's going to have some guys to work with, but I think he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the face of the franchise.
Initially, I would think maybe he's not in a position to do that, but why not? If they've already decided he's the guy they want, and that's something that he wants.
Sounds like they're pretty desperate.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, guys, is that look, if the offers are the same, let's say that the Bears offer him the same thing. If I'm Vrabel, I'll go back and I'll say, okay, well, I have competing offers here. I want this. And again, if they want Vrabel as much as we think they do, I think the Crabs give it to him.
All right. Well, listen, feel free to use that information you gleaned from our talk of the Kansas City assistant GM yesterday.
Mike Borgonzi.
Mike Borgonzi. Bird knows very much about his swimming habits and everything else, who he dated in high school. It's a big deal.
Any guy who vacations on Cape Cod every summer is good by me. So I'm all in on him.
Yeah, it's a good guy. All right, Christopher Price, read him in the Boston Globe as this exciting chapter of the Patriots begins. Thank you, Christopher.
Take care, guys.
See you,
all right, take it easy. All right, everyone's gone podcast crazy. What was the number one podcast in the world? Well, it's Jason Kelce's wife's podcast. And we've explored that. We will we investigate this world in just a moment. We are Toucher and Hardy, and we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. John, who is this?
This is Guy.
This three-man band?
Yes. Tech.
All right. So for a while, there's not everyone can be the Haktua girl and have a wonderful Haktua talk podcast with Mark Cuban where she announces she's going into crypto and Mark Cuban says, awesome, and then it goes and now she's going to go to jail. But there was the number one podcast, I don't know if it still is, but for a while was Jason Kelce's wife's podcast. Now, Jason Kelce, if you don't know, was a very good center for the Philadelphia Eagles. His brother is Travis Kelce, who you may know from his relationship with Taylor Swift.
Oh.
And the two of those brothers do a podcast together, which they were given $100 million reportedly for. So, you see Jason Kelce, he rips phones out of the guy's hands and calls them gay slurs and things of that nature. But other than that, he, if I did that, I would not have a job. But
I'm not going to lie.
But Jason Kelce did say he is above all that, and I'm good. It's glad you make a mistake in your personal life and you're not punished by your career. I'm all for that. It's just interesting to me. But ESPN said there's not enough Jason Kelce. Now they really went hog wild with this. This is a talk show with Jason Kelce and his wife that is a quote unquote television show that airs on ESPN Plus.
It might be on regular ESPN, but the fact that it's on at 1 o'clock in the morning, Friday going into Saturday,
and now that
does it matter?
Yeah, now that James Corden has retired.
Oh, there's an open slot.
ESPN said, you know what was a really good show? The Magic Hour. Let's get an ex-athlete and give him a late-night program, just like we did with Magic Johnson.
Which was a good show.
And watch the Magic, just, no pun intended, cook from there.
Yeah. So, They decided on 4 episodes. It's going to coincide with the leading up to and into the playoffs. They taped the first episode last Friday. It aired later that night. Second episode will be taping this Friday. The ratings, Fred. Who cares about ratings? The fact that they drew 290,000 viewers, where the same time slot, the week before had 800,000. That was because of the Notre Dame game that went late. Never mind the fact that a year ago, that same time slot, same night, drew about 500,000 viewers.
I blame streaming.
Don't make anything of that. Ratings don't matter.
I've learned that, though. Absolutely.
Ratings don't matter?
Yeah, do as good as you can. It don't matter in the end.
Yeah, 290,000. So forget about that. Was it a good show? The name of the show is They Call It Late Night with Jason Kelce, which is a nod, of course, to the 1960s documentary, They Called It Pro Football, which we all remember and watched in the 60s.
Of course.
Before any of us were born except for Wally.
It's like naming your website Grantland.
Right. Again, everybody picks up on the reference
on the
immediately.
Grantland reference.
Yes.
Which I did not know. All right, here we go. Here is, let's see what's doing. It's Jason Kelce.
It's a late night show. You're going to get, an opening segment. He shows up like, in a tricked out golf cart. He comes out, but, you're going to do a monologue because it's a late night show.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and she's involved too. She's the announcer.
Oh. Okay.
Well, they're fun. They're a power couple.
Kylie Kelce is the announcer.
Okay.
What could go wrong? All right,
she's got her own little setup. It says Kylie's Corner, and it's kind of like a makeshift banner. It looks like the kids made for her.
And I have a feeling that she is going to keep him in check.
You got that right.
All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jason Kelce.
Who's yelling?
That's him, right?
That's him.
Yeah, that's him.
You got to learn to say no. You gotta know this is a bad idea. You're doing good, man. You just scammed. You fleeced someone. You just had the Lufthansa heist. You got $100 million for you and your dumb brother's podcast. Leave well enough alone.
Oh.
Who you go to me? Hey, Fred, I want you to do a late night show. Here we go. You do a monologue. Do a funny monologue. Just you go and do it. No. I'm hyped. This is how Letterman used to come out. Hello.
Right away with the swears.
Hello.
With the swears.
Mr. McAfee on line 2.
Now, we bleeped that. They did not bleep it on the show. Only, spoiler alert, F-bombs got bleeped on ESPN. Everything else, they were letting it fly.
Hachi Machi. This ain't your grandma's late night show. This is subversive stuff. This is, dare I say, punk rock.
This isn't Jack Parr.
Oh, wow. How did we get here?
That's what your wife said in the podcast. Because of your brother's dating Taylor Swift, if you must know. That's how you got there.
I have the answer.
Yeah, you might have said no to this. You just might have said no.
Your brother's dating Taylor Swift.
And as soon as that's over, this all goes away. But there you go. You might be an analyst, but this all goes away. All this other ancillary stuff.
Oh, my gosh. How did we get here? Love you guys, too. Oh, what's happening? All right. Yeah, I have my own late night show. Not quite sure how we got here. I used to love watching Conan as a kid. I thought it was hilarious. And now I'm up here doing my own show. My parents are here? Oh, my God. Mom, Dad, you were wrong.
So he's in the habit of he just tosses anyone that's had him inside of them or is a result of being inside of someone, and he tosses them on, and it all works out. He figures, I might as well have my parents on since my brother's the reason I'm famous. I get it.
Keep it in the family.
And he has the same pedigree as Conan. You know, he wrote for The Simpsons and Saturday Night Live and stuff. He was the editor of the Harvard Lampoon.
Thank you.
He's got that whole basis.
Yeah.
When he was playing center at Cincinnati.
Not only am I getting my own show, but I'm getting to make my own show with my wife, Kylie, as the announcer. Kylie's Corner. I love that sign. Kai, is this not the best?
It's amazing. I do have an official disclaimer, though, that I'm obligated to read.
Oh, now she's going to lay down the law. Kelce, you're the brains of this operation. You tell him where. Read the disclaimer, please.
I wonder if it's a real disclaimer, though, or if it's going to be a little bit of a yuck.
Oh, it's hijinks.
I think it's time for her to come in and sarcastically take him down a peg.
To our viewers, this evening's program is intended for mature audiences. Young viewers, such as your children, may hear language that is inappropriate for them. Not our kids.
Their house is a bit of a zoo. Let's just say that. I like it.
They hear like this all the time, right, Jay?
Absolutely, yeah, no. Swearing is not an issue at our house. So you may hear the occasional F-bomb or something like this. I love you, Kai.
I love you too, Jay.
So it is so subversive. They're so subversive.
I've already heard it, and I can't hear it.
They've said the F word. This is so subversive. There's so much on the line.
I love you too.
The idea that it was pre-taped and ready to be censored, it's just as subversive as us playing it. What two dopes? And it's not even their. Well, Jason Kelce should have said no to this. But everything's moving very fast. Shame on ESPN. You've not learned your lesson about anything. I got to stop. I got to stop.
We haven't even heard the bit. They did a bit.
The bit was swearing.
No.
And I think I've heard enough of the bit.
They had a full sketch that they did.
Oh. All right. Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it with Forsberg. I'm too hot right now. We'll do Joe Murray tomorrow. I want to listen to it. We'll play. There's not enough to talk about with Forsberg. Let's have Forsberg listen to this with us.
Big win last night over Denver.
Well, we have him for 2 segments.
Yeah. All right.
I want to come back and I want to hear the segment because they've already blown me away with the subversive swearing.
$100 million for this personality to speak.
Holy shit!
And it's funny because I don't like him, right? Like he's not funny. Like he's not a funny person. He's not funny at all or has any history in comedy. It's insulting to everyone that he would be considered that. That he compared himself. Did you watch Conan O'Brien? Well, I watched you play football. Yeah. I think I'll just go out and play for the Eagles. Because I watched you snap a ball, stupid.
His appeal is to the Philadelphia metropolitan area. He's making $100 million to do this.
I don't like him. Like, I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't like this whole thing with his wife. I don't like any of it. It's all very, very old and annoying.
Well,
it's just very annoying.
Your thoughts on them, you know what she would say.
That means nothing.
Her whole podcast, by the way, that was number one, started with how did I get here? So this whole false sense of, this modesty, this false modesty that they put out is really annoying. You know what? You guys are every couple. You guys can relate to America's couples. So what you're going to come out is just say it. And then you're going to show you're different by people by saying the F word. But don't worry, we'll bleep it out in the 3 hours after taping that we air.
Love you, Kai.
I love you too, Jay.
They're just like us. We swear in front of our kids. We're imperfect parents. Boo! I would do 1,000 times better than him at this. I wouldn't have anybody in my life, anyone in my family around.
You'd shut out your parents, though.
Oh, absolutely I would. I'd have those two 83-year-olds babbling on the show right away. All right. We'll be back in just a moment.
Point a shot, rebound, score!
WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Celtics scored 15 straight points in the fourth quarter to break up a tie game, and they went on to win in Denver late last night, 118-106. Nikola Jokic was out with a non-COVID illness for the Nuggets. Jason Tatum led all scorers with 29 points. The Celtics win 3 of 4 on their road trip. They're off until Friday night when they're back home to play Sacramento. As for the Bruins, they used the Garden last night for hockey, and things did not go well.
McAvoy tried to get it back toward the blue line and lost it. Nugent Hopkins ahead to McDavid on the breakaway. He scores. So it goes end to end, and the Oilers get the power play goal from Connor McDavid. It's 2-0.
That's Ryan Johnston here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins were beaten by defending Western Conference champion Edmonton 4-0. Adam Henrique scored twice for the Oilers. The Bruins have lost 5 in a row. They visit Tampa Bay tomorrow evening. In football news, the Patriots quickly got going in their search for a new head coach. They spoke to a pair of former offensive coordinators, Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton. Mike Vrabel is now expected to have a formal interview for the job tomorrow, and Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is expected in as well. The Chicago Bears have been denied permission to speak to current Dallas head coach Mike McCarthy, but they will speak to Pete Carroll. The Las Vegas Raiders yesterday fired head coach Antonio Pierce, and the San Francisco Giants had signed soon-to-be 42-year-old pitcher Justin Verlander to a one-year, $15 million deal. Sports Hub headlines are driven by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respected Albrecht with 7 locations and thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Get the right vehicle at the right price now at albrechtauto.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston Toll for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Or who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app, the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallach?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube. It's as simple as going to youtube.com and subscribing to 98.5 The Sports Hub. Eric, hello.
Hey, good morning, guys. So there is one unfortunate redeeming quality about that, I'm sure, really great late night show. John Glazer is the head writer.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer because he's great.
John Glazer is fantastic. He's the guy from...
Fantastic.
Yeah. Declassified, delocated.
Yep.
I love John Glazer.
Jam. He's the best. That's why. And then when I heard you ripping it, rightfully so, I was pretty bummed out. But yeah, he's a homie.
Well, John Glazer, if there's any, I know you're a Michigan guy. If there's any way that you hear this, I am a huge fan of yours, and I don't blame you for taking the paycheck. And you were trying to mold clay out of diarrhea, and for that, I do not blame you. I do not blame John.
If there's anyone that can do it, it's him.
That's it. Well, we'll see. All right, thank you, Eric. We appreciate it. He was given an assignment that's very, very difficult, and you can't win every mission. Chris Forsberg covers the Celtics for NBC Sports Boston. Talking Green with Chris Forsberg is presented by Bentley University, where good business begins and leaders come to learn. Hello, Chris.
Hello, friends. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. All right. Can I play this last clip of the show?
Oh, it's fine with me, Chris. We were listening to the Jason Kelce late night show. Would you like to? Would you like to hear any of this?
I would love to.
All right. Okay. So let me set the scene. He comes out in this tricked out golf cart. He yells and screams, and then him and his wife. They say not only the S word, but they say the F word. And then they say that if you have kids, maybe they don't want to be watching this, except in our house, because in their house, Chris, it's a bit of a zoo. Okay. I wonder if this is something Glazer would do ironically. Like, I don't know. It's very strange for me. Like, let's just have all these dumb sitcom tropes in here. All right, so here we go. So what am I hearing here? It's the final clip. This is a bit they put together?
So this is, and you want to talk about another surprise. You just mentioned the writer there, Glazer, who's involved with this. I'm surprised this person was willing to help them out with a bit, because it's another guy who I think does funny stuff. Even he can't save this bit, though.
And this, it's not just a door, it's a portal. And it's going to take me to any talk show host that I need to talk to.
Okay, so this sounds like we've gone into Attleboro High's improv group. Now, this is not a door, ladies and gentlemen. This is a portal. And this is going to take us to a series of bad impressions.
It's not impressions. It's he's setting it up to be what it's supposed to be.
Well, it's ABC, and so owns ESPN, and that's the Disney Corporation. So I have a friend, feeling our friend Jimmy Kimmel is going to be popping out as the network said, Jimmy, you were required to do this, and this, and this is what we're going to do. So John Glazer, I like. Jimmy Kimmel, I like. I don't like this.
And this, it's not just a door, it's a portal. And it's going to take me to any talk show host that I need to talk to either bounce ideas off of or usually seek advice. Watch.
Pork Parmesan would be good.
What's up, buddy?
He's here again. Let me call you back. Hey, man, aren't you supposed to be doing your first show right now?
Yeah, I was just, taking everyone on a tour, showing them backstage, the set, and I thought I'd show them the portal.
You showed the audience the secret portal? It's for talk show hosts only.
Wait, why am I in different clothes?
That's what the portal does. It changes you into casual clothing. I told you this the last 11 times you were here.
Sorry. Okay. Yes, that makes, okay, yeah.
You know what they say at the end of a talk show? Good night. Good night.
Were they in the same room? Were they in the same room?
I didn't see it. I just heard it. And
Ryan, were they in the same room? Oh, wow. Kimball didn't even do it live with them.
No. And
so Kimball taped his part of that.
Part of the conversation.
And then they edited it together.
And
I'll give Kimball credit. He was like, I'm not doing this thing
and they
live.
obviously also taped it at a different time when Kelce was wearing different clothes so they could work in that joke about why he was wearing different clothes.
Who would the funniest late night talk show host have been if it had not been a corporate person like Kimmel? Chevy Chase had that show
that they could have brought in now. Who?
Chase. Remember when Chevy Chase had that late night show?
Well, I said when they gave Jason
yeah.
Kelce the show, it was like they were taking the old formula of the Magic Johnson show,
right?
Which was a huge hit.
Pat Sajak.
Yeah, Pat Sajak had a hell of a run too. Remember, he got all pissy.
Yep.
Because he got fired.
See, if they had had Chevy Chase on, to me, that would have been a lot more funny.
Or a lot more subversive.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, rather than saying the F word that was going to be bleeped out 3 hours after it aired.
There's your joke. Like, I can take this portal to any successful talk show host anywhere and then go talk to Magic Johnson.
Yes, and it's not like they couldn't get Magic Johnson. Yeah. That's a funny bit.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I can take this portal to anywhere, and then they go to Magic Johnson and go, hey, you're an athlete. Like, what should I do?
Yeah, and a successful talk show host.
And what if it wasn't even Magic Johnson? It was just he was talking to clips of Magic from the Magic Show.
Oh, my God, that's great.
See, I'm funnier than Jason Kelce. We're already off the top of our... Hardy and I just made a better show than Jason Kelce off the top of our heads.
But who's going to watch us? I mean, my sister isn't dating anyone famous.
Hey,
you don't even have a sibling.
Dozens of
I'm an
people
only
are
child.
watching
I'm screwed.
us as we speak on YouTube.
No.
Dozens.
No, we just started broadcasting careers through nothing and then built our careers up. We didn't have to start banging famous people. So that's where we tripped up. Is going through the whole traditional media route.
Right.
Same with you, Chris. I mean, you wrote for ESPN. You did all these things. I mean, shame on you. You could have just been banging Taylor Swift, and they would have handed you a comedy show, anything you wanted. There you have it.
Wouldn't have had to go to Abu Dhabi.
Well, then you would have missed out on the whole brainwashing thing they did for you, so you only speak highly about it. I understand. You're compromised. I understand.
Hey, you still have those Abu Dhabi commercials on NBC Sports Boston. Be careful.
Oh, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's 17 degrees outside. I would yearn to go back right now and be sitting on a beach somewhere.
All right, go live there. I'm sure you'd love it.
Do it remote.
There's nothing you'd miss. Just take the family and move out there.
I want to find a portal that delivers me right there.
Your wife would love it. Yeah. All right. She'll love being marginalized. So listen, Quite a road trip out there for the Celtics. Am I right or am I wrong? I mean, here they go. It's the toughest one of the year.
Trip. Yeah, like, look, the Oklahoma City game was the crown jewel, and it's a little disappointing that they had such a bad second half in that game. 3-1 is perfectly fine. I actually thought the Houston game would be the toughest because of the quick turnaround. They played much better than what we had seen through the month of December for the totality of that trip. But yeah, like I'm left wanting a little bit more because, I wonder if they'd gone 2-2 and get that Oklahoma City game, maybe I would have even felt a little bit better about it. But, they did have some good stretches out there. I think Porzingis had said they huddled before they went out there and kind of took inventory of a bad December and pledged to be a little bit better. But, it still gnaws at you that they haven't played with the consistency that is needed to get back to where they want to go. So I just think there's more strides to be made for this team, and yet, hey, 3-1's not bad.
Discuss that Oklahoma City game more, because for me, that was kind of a slap in the face as a guy who's a fan of the Celtics and a guy who occasionally works with them. They are a great team.
Very occasionally.
Very occasionally. Thank you. They are a great team.
Hey. Before he asks the question, I just want to reiterate, he occasionally does work for the team. So he took it a little personally. Proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They're a great team that ran into a team that was better than they are. And that doesn't happen all that much with this team.
Yeah, look, I think it's undeniable that OKC has been the best team in basketball. They're fun to watch, the way they play defense, the physicality they brought in the second half. The Celtics have had stretches where they've struggled to match that physicality. It's just so jarring when they go from, wow, that's 65 points on the best team in basketball to couldn't get anything to go in the second half and falling back in some bad habits, the turnovers, the getting frustrated when shots aren't falling. So yeah, it's easy to say it'll change when the playoffs get here, but I think I expected a little bit more to this point of the season. I think there's you can blame whatever you want. Coasting, I get it. It's hard to get up for everything, but that's a game they should have been up for. And I don't understand how you kind of come out in that third quarter and be that much of a downshift from what we saw in the first half. I give OKC all the credit in the world. They are, again, very good basketball team. I think there is a real chance they'll be there at the end, especially with getting Chet back, and they didn't have Caruso for that game. That defense can get even better than what we saw. But I just think, the Celtics haven't quite put it together, and that was one of only the second time this year I think they had their top 9. So, look, again, I have high expectations for this team and need a little bit more.
Do you think, and you were discussing this on NBC Sports Boston, I think it was last night or the night before, do you think that this team needs a kind of a trade to tweak things a little bit?
Yeah, so the only reason I would say, certainly you want to add, if you have championship aspirations, every little bit of depth helps. But the thing I revert back to is last year they spent draft picks to go get Xavier Tillman, and he can't even get off the bench right now. Are you finding a player that is better than Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, Xavier Tillman, all those guys? And I think that's going to be a challenge. They don't have a lot of resources. They can trade someone like Jaden Springer, who makes $4 million. So that's sort of probably the most you can bring back, and they can't aggregate contracts, so they can't combine. In the past, you take Jaden Springer and somebody else and go get a $7 million guy. You can't do that because of the new apron and the new rules. So I think it's going to be tough for Brad to improve this roster. Maybe there's a veteran out there that can fill that 15 spot. Maybe it's as simple as bringing someone up from Maine. But honestly, it just comes down to, I think the guys that they've got in-house have to be a little bit better. And so Peyton's hit a little bit of a funk on this road trip, and it's tough against teams like Oklahoma City. Sam Hauser got it going a little bit last night, but certainly been fighting that back issue. So everyone just needs to be a little bit better. I don't think there's someone out there that changes how good you can be. It just comes down to starters got to be locked in like they were last year, and the bench has to bring the efficiency they did last year. Everyone needs to go up a level. I struggle to find the veteran that changes everything. That would have saved you from that second half in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of scary to think about, because I agree with you, Chris. You can't do much realistically to make this team better right now, by executing any kind of a deal. So what does that mean when we're talking about a team that we can't envision them getting better, yet, as John pointed out, and you agree with, they ran into a better team in OKC. And especially when you consider that this Celtics team has got itself in a position now with their contracts and moving forward and with a new owner, like you can't keep this thing together for, an infinite amount of time. At some point, just money-wise, it's going to break the back of this team. So as good as they are, as quote-unquote perfect as they might look right now, there's still another team out there that at least on that one night was, they're actually better.
Yeah, and that's the question, right? Like in the playoffs, are the Celtics, I think there's undeniably another level they can go to. They have not played anywhere near what we saw in long stretches last year. They haven't dominated to the level that they did last season. And I think they can certainly get there. I mean, one of the most encouraging parts of this trip last night, Porzingis looks more like himself, like both sides, just a little bit sprier and just a little bit more comfortable. And so if can he avoid injuries over the next 3 months and be that player in the postseason? I think, guys like Drew Holiday tend to go up a level in the playoffs. So I do think they can get up to that level. I think what the Oklahoma City game is a reminder of is that there's a bunch of young teams out there that are coming and that are like ready to take the next step and be in the mix, and maybe more so than recent seasons, and especially last year when Oklahoma City bows in round 2 against the Mavericks after being the top seed. So I think you just got to be prepared for that. This is every champion for the last, I think, 6 seasons has had to face this, where it's tough. It's tough even when you bring back the same roster. You've got to find different ways to elevate your play, and so I think they'll get there. I haven't lost any confidence that they can still repeat or anything like that. I just think it's a weird balance right now, trying to slog your way through 82 and be the team that you want to be. And I don't think it's as simple as you got to start showing some of those things sooner than later, because you can't just wait till May and be like, okay, now we're going to play, because that's tough.
All right. Chris Forsberg, NBC Sports Boston. We will continue. I have some questions about the NBA, different teams in the NBA and their performance. We will continue the talk in just a moment. Had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Celtics, Joe Mazzulla likes challenges. They got one from this non-Jokic Denver team tonight, but the Celtics survive it, and in front of thousands of their green-clad fans in Denver tonight, they complete the most difficult road trip of the year, 3-1. The final score, Boston 118, Denver 106.
Who's this? John and I both are nodding our heads.
It's a Boston band called Cave In.
Current band?
Yes, they still make records.
Really?
This one's from a while ago. It's from their album Jupiter, which actually has a big anniversary this year.
It's a band called Haven.
Cave In.
Cave In. Oh, I know Cave In.
Yeah.
Cave In.
Yeah.
Cave In. Okay. Very good. All right. Chris Forsberg works for NBC Sports Boston. He covers the Celtics, who just went 3-1, as you just heard, on that West Coast trip that was very difficult. No Jokic last night, but whatever. They and finished the trip 3-1. They only lost to Oklahoma City, who we went over. All right, when I'm looking at the NBA now, which, by the way, short of the Lions playing Saturday night, which I think is very, very unlikely. I think they will be playing Sunday night as the marquee game. I will be seeing the Detroit Pistons on Saturday night at Little Caesars Arena.
Ooh, Pistons playing really well after being a doormat last year. Pistons are a playoff team.
All you got to do is fire the highest paid coach in the NBA, and then there you go.
500.
But I do have a question. Is there a chance the 76ers don't make the playoffs? Like, you watch them, you keep an eye on things. They're out of it right now. It doesn't look like things have gotten like a ton better. There is a chance.
Of course. I forget what I think they owe their pick this year, so I don't know if there's any, like they might have to get super low to protect that pick, like if what the protections on it. And I'd certainly think if you're thinking about the future of that team and like what the best pathway forward is, it's probably to build around Maxey. Now, is someone taking on Embiid with his health and his money? I don't know, but certainly those are things you have to think about, which is weird. Like for all his warts, I really like Embiid. And I think there's a universe where he stays healthier, and that team is pretty good. But like, I don't know, but we're going on like what feels like a decade now of him not being healthy and not being able to be there in the playoffs. And I think you just at some point have to decide what the future looks like. And those are tough decisions, right? Like, he's an MVP caliber player when he's healthy, but you got to start thinking about like when I watch the Sixers and they're playing their best basketball, it's because Maxey is flying all over the place. Yeah. So maybe is it better to take a step back and try to figure this thing out, or just keep bashing your head against the wall trying to get this thing to work with whatever iteration of Paul George or Tobias Harris or, going back to Al Horford and like, all the different variations of this team. But yeah, it is kind of wild. I kind of figured, even the Bucks kind of turned the corner, and like, some teams that started rough found their footing, and Sixers have not.
They're just so talented, on paper. Like they got Paul
George, Maxey, and Embiid should be good to get you home court in the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, you would think so. And even George and Maxey, you would think would make you a play-in team.
That kid Maxey, he's an all-star now. He has a chance to be a superstar. That kid's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean he's the story there, and you're right. You probably build around him, and it's interesting that it's getting towards the last quarter of the season, and you realize you're not going to do anything. Do you try to actively start protecting that pick? That's interesting. Now, when you look at how teams have been playing, is there anyone? We've talked about Oklahoma City and how that would be a fascinating matchup in the final. Is there anyone that you see in the East that has impressed you or surprised you so far this year?
I mean, I think invariably we come back to Cleveland, and especially they start 15-0. Celtics take them down. I think we all thought, okay, they're going to come back to earth a little bit. They really haven't. And you kind of look up, and I guess that's one of the things is when the Celtics lose these games, and you're like at the end of December, and okay, teams trip up along the way, but Caps are kind of like prohibitively in front of them now, and so you're staring at a tough pathway to get to the first seed. Look, Cleveland's got to show it. Same deal on the playoff stage, but they were pretty frisky last year in that second round, and If they'd been healthier, I think that's a tougher series, and it's already tough because when you have Mitchell and now you get Mobley and these guys just getting more experience. I do think they're sort of the other team to watch. And look, you don't have to probably worry about that until the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think we can say like Cleveland's legit, and they're going to be a problem for the future based on their size, their physicality, some of the stuff that bothers the Celtics along the way. Like, I'm still not overly concerned about the Knicks. I think they're certainly playing better. They certainly pose some problems, but kind of got to see it over a long course and in the playoffs before I get too worried about them. But I guess the general feeling was like the East was going to be so much better, and I just don't know if that's true. There are teams that are kind of going through it. There's teams that will be a pain in the early rounds, but the Celtics are again, if they ever just get that consistency going, I feel pretty good about their chances in the Eastern Conference. It's probably going to be it'll be interesting to watch how that play-in starts shaking out. You talk about Philly, okay, like let's just say Philly decides they're going to stick around in it. As much as I don't think it would be a arduous playoff series, you still got to go through, and if you had to go through Embiid and Paul George and Maxey in the playoffs in the first round or as a play-in team, that's annoying. So I'll be interested in the second half of the season, kind of watch how that back end of the bracket shapes up.
Sorry, just to go back out west for a second. John wants to give the Celtics no credit for the win over Denver last night. It's like without Jokic, doesn't even matter. He didn't even watch, which is rare for him. I still think that team looked really good last night, obviously missing their best player, and the Celtics, did what they had to do. They got the win, but there's enough impressive about that Denver team to where I'm thinking, all right, they're going to be the ones that would either challenge Oklahoma City or legitimately have a right to call themselves the better of the two.
Yeah, so in the playoffs, you always say, right, when you have the best player on the court, which invariably Denver should have because of how good Jokic is, you have a chance. And, like, their depth, I don't love. I understand, since the championship season, Bruce Brown leaves, KCP going to Orlando. Like, they've lost some key pieces. I wonder what they'll do at the deadline. They don't have a lot of flexibility to add. You could trade Michael Porter Jr. and try to get two players, which it's always a weird balance there. You don't typically try to trade and get what you would consider a worse player, but they just need more pieces to subsist when Jokic isn't on the floor. And maybe that's not a problem in the playoffs because you're going to lean on him for 40-something minutes a night. It is encouraging that nights like last night, they show a little bit more. They've just been so bad, one of the worst teams in the NBA when Jokic isn't on the floor. So for them to just be able to put up a fight last night is encouraging. And I agree, because they've been there, because they've done it, that's the one team where if I say, okay, if them and Oklahoma City are in the Western Conference Finals, that's still a challenge for OKC because when you've been there, there's just a little bit more confidence, a little bit more ability to feel like you can win that. So if Denver's lucky enough to get to that stage, it is going to be a challenge for whoever's on the other side of that West bracket.
I wanted to ask you about the visibility of Jason Tatum. First batch of All-Star voting, he was third overall behind Jokic and Giannis, but he's having the best season all around of his career. Is this the year where Tatum could win MVP?
He's one of the few that seems to care about this game. But it goes back. It's that stupid new format. Sorry, NBA, but the 4 teams and the rising stars being a part of it. I wonder if it's going to be how the pathway to MVP is this year. It's it's different.
No, I was talking about for the entire season, not the All-Star game.
Oh, okay.
He's already won the All-Star game MVP. I don't think and it's the All-Star game MVP. I'm talking about for the whole year.
Ooh.
His visibility has never... I brought up the All-Star voting and that he is high there now for the first time. So for the whole season, could this be the year he wins the MVP award?
Difficult because of how good Jokic, SGA, the people in front of him have been. If the Celtics were steamrolling like they were a year ago, I think it's a little bit easier to see the pathway. I do think he's a pretty firm fourth right now. I could see him muscling up to third, maybe getting ahead of if you're thinking Luke has missed a lot of time, Giannis and the Bucks haven't played well enough to probably keep Giannis in that conversation. I can see him slotting third right now. And look, I said it when they started the month. Normally, Tatum in January, for whatever reason, goes up a level. The near triple double in Minnesota, just as you said, he's more visible. He's been even better than I think just the casual observer understands. The stat line is much more robust. He's putting up, flirting with triple doubles more often. The points plus rebounds plus assists is right in line with guys like Jokic and Giannis. But I think the Celtics would have to be really dominant down the stretch for him to kind of further muscle his way in. Just face it. If Oklahoma City ends up even close to the best record in the NBA, SGA is going to get a ton of credit for that, and deservedly so. He is so impressive with the way he relentlessly drives that basketball and creates and does everything. And Jokic's stat line is just going to be so absurd. It's tough. I feel for Tatum in a way because he's almost got to be otherworldly to compete with them. And yet he's so deferential in terms of he gets it now. He makes the right reads. He's more concerned about getting others involved. I think he'll be rewarded more in the playoffs if he plays to this level. And, maybe this is the year where he comes out with a Eastern Conference Finals MVP or a Finals MVP based on the way he plays.
All right. Well, listen, Chris Forsberg, as the football season winds down, the attention will certainly not be on the Bruins. It will be solely on the Boston Celtics. And we are very fortunate to have you on once a week. Thank you so much for the time, sir.
Oh, thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Chris. There you go. Chris Forsberg. I was just had a Gasper article I was reading in the break about he's no fan of this Mayo thing.
Gasper wanted Mayo here.
Yeah. Huh. Gasper writes in very intricate sentences. He puts some thought into it. He calls the Patriots the Foxborough Foundation or something like that. It's a whole thing. It's very exciting. All right, look. What also is exciting is what could be happening. 2 weeks from now, not even a fortnight from now.
Nay, not even a fortnight. Is that what you just said?
I did. I'm going into Gasper.
You're going into Gasper mode.
Yeah. Nay, not even a fortnight from now. On this very show, history could be happening. Plus, history happened last night, and someone that will be involved, maybe, if the card is not interrupted. These are very fragile times. Where this is a very fragile negotiation. In fact, in reality, Adam was asked very kindly for us not to speak of this today. And that is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. So we will be talking about it very, very much. Extensively.
Yes.
All right. So that we will be back with that in just a moment. Here are your headlines.
Shot, save, rebound, score!
98.5, the Sports Hub. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an catcher at a celebrity softball game I was at.
Okay, I was.
They're doing Sunday, Hardy, so I don't know if they probably just come in for the day and leave.
Well, we can just bring Farrakhan in.
Was Chuck D nice?
Yes, he was very nice.
Yeah, because he impresses me as like a nice guy.
Well, you know my show in Atlanta, we had Professor Griff on every week.
Yeah, who was not a nice guy.
He's funny. Like, he's pretty funny. Like, it was great. Because we would just give him, like, the moon landing. Like, anything. And he would just, with a lot of conviction.
Did you get the sense that he enjoyed your company?
I got a sense that I will tell you this, and I was in my 20s.
Not the platform, but your company.
I'll tell you this. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, he hates white people. But the thing is this, and I was in my 20s, so who knows? And there's a lot of things I might have misread, but I think I know Professor Griff. It liked the platform and knew I knew, like, we were on the same page. He was very, like, nice to me, like in like,
okay, all right,
like, it started organically. I didn't go like, oh, I'm gonna just start having Professor Griff on. Like, I met him and like got along with him, and then had him in, and he wouldn't yell. He would just be like, the moon landing. He'd be like, yeah, that never happened. That was like, the whites trying to, like, keep the people of Israel or of Egypt down, the original inhabitants of Egypt down. Like,
and I only know these people from the band. Other than I did meet Flava Flav once, and he was really nice.
Yeah, Flava Flav is a good guy. Yeah,
right.
So,
but just the attitude of the band, like Sister Soldier, I wouldn't think she would be a nice lady.
Well, who knows? She could, if you ever dine at a Bennigan's, she could be waiting on you. I don't think Sister Soldier has gone on to great. Maybe she
know
has.
That.
Was she the newscaster in that?
This is Sister Soldier.
Public Enemy. Security of the First World.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. She was okay. All right, so here we go. This Hardy and I this weekend, and you can look on our socials. We'll be videoing ourselves. We will be. I'm taking my son. Hardy's going. His family. We are both going to Detroit, Michigan, to watch your Detroit Lions
next
play.
Weekend.
Yeah, the next weekend. Yeah. Martin Luther King weekend.
Yes.
So that leaves. So we are not working Martin Luther King Day. Some days some years we do, some years we don't. So what's also happening is there's a sporting event that's happening that afternoon that will be on the Sports Hub. So we are given the option as hosts of the Sports Hub to either work the holiday or use it as a floating holiday for a future day off. Well, to my understanding, Felger, being the shrewd businessman that he is, says, I want to work Martin Luther King Day. Our show will only be a half hour on account of the sporting event that will be happening that afternoon.
Yes, he and Maz do it frequently, and they are very forthright with it. They call it a fraud shift.
Right. And so our boss, Rick Radzik, had the great idea. He said, all right, well, if you want to work.
How did it sound?
He goes, he was smart, so I'm going to do this.
Okay.
He said, if you want to work, and enough, they're going to be mad enough. So he said, if you want to work, why don't you do the morning show? And apparently they were receptive, and we had a meeting about digital and stuff with Jim Louth, who's the assistant program director, and Rick, who's the program director, yesterday, and we talked about the fact that Felger and Maz could do the show. Who cares? Well, what's funny is we were going to mention it on today's show, and Jim Louth, our assistant program director, reached out to Adam, and he's like, how about you guys hold off on talking about it? Because nothing's in stone yet. Like, this is an intense negotiation. To that I say, oh, get the hell out of here.
Okay, so what?
So what if they don't do it? Oh, boy, Felger and Maz didn't fill in on the show. Everything's ruined on a holiday. It's from 6 to 10 in the morning. And who cares?
I've learned this, and Adam, you've known Fred for a long time, but, this serves as a teachable moment. The one thing you don't tell Fred is tell him the thing that he shouldn't say.
Precisely.
It has the opposite effect.
Unless I feel that it's worthy of my secrecy. If I don't and I think it's ridiculous, then I am not going to keep it secret. It's so
We've
funny.
all learned that lesson.
John's diarrhea.
We've all learned that lesson,
Well,
yes.
I mean, if John has diarrhea, if he's going to keep leaving the room, the world should know. But It is funny
passing through that screening.
It is
process.
funny to me that Felger and Maz doing a different shift on the same station has to be handled with kid gloves. Don't look. No one's committed yet. So if you get on the air, you might push them away. So, big deal. Who cares? That's so funny to me. If they don't want to do it, don't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to get up in the morning and do the show. But I hope they do it, and I hope they sign into YouTube. And they can look at how nice everyone is at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
The
yeah,
best
of course.
Because there is no
They have
hate.
to host a show with the imaging for this show.
There is no hate in the world. And Felger and Maz get hate. But not that personal, visceral attacking hate.
First thing in the morning, you are just coming to grips with your own consciousness and reality.
Of a male-oriented morning show in an East Coast market.
Yeah.
There is nothing as vile as the reception that you receive. And now I've learned to appreciate it because the worst thing you can be is ignored. And in this business, you don't want to be ignored. So I've after many, many years, have come somewhat to terms with it. But I would like I told you the time I was out with Maddie Siegel from Maddie in the Morning. And it was like when Twitter was real big. And I said, watch this. I go, do you get a lot of hate mail? He goes, no. He goes, I have all ladies. All they do is they're nice to me. I say, watch this. I mashed the keys of my phone and sent out a tweet. Then in real time, we watched people just go, you effing R word. Hey, you drunk piece of garbage. Hey, why don't you go die? I hope you crash your car. And he was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? And I said, this is our audience.
Remember, the two of us took a picture in the hallway, and there was one where it just said "friends," and just the two of us had our arms around each other, and all the hatred that came back after that.
And
just the two of it was just an innocuous little thing, but it was a test.
Every girl I know goes, you poor thing. Like as soon as they see it, because they'll find me on Instagram, like if we've just met, and they'll look at my Instagram and they'll read the comments under the cute videos and pictures, and they'll go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'll go, that's nothing.
The worst
when I was on Twitter, that was the worst.
And it sucks because it kind of makes you less empathetic to people who are being, bullied or picked on in any way. And, luckily it hasn't happened to people close to me or my, family or anything. But anytime there's a slight of some kind, I look at them and I say, what are you upset for?
Yes.
Someone said something mean to you today. Look at this.
Right. Well, I also tell my kids there's a point where I'm telling you, you cannot take that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a point where you got to, in some way, this is not allowed. And you got to do something. I don't care if it's going to a position of authority or handling it yourself, but this is going to stop. That's very rare.
Yeah.
But there is a point where I have to teach that.
But
in terms of the audience, I've never had the audience say ever said anything.
It was earlier this year. I'm not going to bring up the incident.
No, don't. But
it's
no one's ever said anything about my kids. If they did, I would not like it.
No.
But I think that makes you look like a psychopath.
Yes.
Much more than me.
Well, there'll be at least 3 sane people here if it comes to it on a week from Monday. If Felger and Maz end up doing the show.
Or you can get Felger's protege, Mark Dondero.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just
hosted while we were out there.
I like the idea of Jimmy Stewart producing the show that morning, and because we have guests on. They don't have guests on in the afternoon, but you're expected to have some guests when you're doing the morning
a 4-hour talk show, yes.
And they just if Jay Stu could book some people that day,
Seth Rollins,
and just have other people coming in and kind of joining the crew that morning for the morning zoo.
Hey, it's Andy Wong, ladies and gentlemen.
The Barbarian.
Yeah, it's Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And guess what, Mike? He brought his scissors. Tony, they're not going to have much use on you. Ha ha. On the account, you're bald. Hey.
The Heartbreak Kid.
And I'm being told, don't look for Jim Murray, because Jim Murray will not be in.
No.
Jim Murray.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, anyway, we don't have time right now, but we will play it later in the next hour. James Stewart, incredulous over some behavior at an event the other night.
Oh.
Is incredulous over it, and we have audio. He was very vocal on the show yesterday about being upset about something that happened, an event, not to him and not to the show.
Oh, yes.
But to a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely enough, he has a passionate feeling about it. So we will play that for you.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, you do. All right, so hopefully, Felger and Maz, if I haven't just disrupted the apple cart too much.
You've ruined everything.
If I haven't drawn the ire of Felger, which is not in anyone's best interest.
Tell you what, though,
he
boys,
runs things.
You end up getting up early on that Monday. I have only one thing to say to you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sunday at about 3 o'clock, you start thinking ahead.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I got to get up and
Yeah.
single-digit hours.
And hopefully it takes, what would one show take off your life? If like a year of doing the show takes, say, 3 weeks off your life, then maybe you lose a day of your life doing it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Car number 10 to the contest line, 617-931-0985. We'll score a pair of general admission plus wristbands. Okay. For the day of their choice for Boston Calling and automatically be entered to be upgraded to VIP. Visit bostoncalling.com to check out this year's improvements, and there are a lot of them. They've done a lot to improve that outside of just the bands that they booked. Billy Jaffe will be in with us to talk about your red-hot Boston Bruins that are captivating my attention.
Oh, man.
I would not pay to get in to go to a game. There's no way in hell. We'll be back in just a moment.
Point a shot, rebound, score!
WBZ-FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Celtics finished off their road trip with a win in Denver last night, 118-106 over the Nuggets. Jason Tatum, 29 points. Kristaps Porzingis added 25. Celtics were without Derek White due to illness. The home team was without Nikola Jokic due to illness. Joe Mazzulla's team wound up 3-1 on a tough trip through the Western Conference.
You know, everybody said this road trip was brutal, I think is what a couple people used to start, and so that was great. And I just like the way our guys handled it. You know, I like the way we approached it. It was 4 tough environments. I thought our defense kind of carried us, and then I thought our offense is what helped us. But I really liked just the guys, the road trip mindset that they brought, the physicality that they knew needed to be throughout the course of all 4 games was there.
The Celtics are now 27-10. They're back home to play Sacramento Friday night. As for the Bruins, the news is much worse. They got beat by Edmonton in their own building, 4-0. Adam Henrique, 2 goals for the winners. Bruins have lost 5 in a row. They visit Tampa Bay tomorrow night. The Patriots interviewed both former Tampa Bay offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich and former Houston offensive coordinator Pep Hamilton for their head coaching vacancy yesterday. Neither man has been in the NFL since 2022. The big story of the day is the guy who's the favorite for the job, Mike Vrabel. He will be in town on Thursday. In other NFL news, the Chicago Bears have been denied permission to speak to current Dallas head coach Mike McCarthy, but they will talk to Pete Carroll. The Raiders have fired their head coach Antonio Pierce, and the New England Revolution traded forward Giacomo Vrioni to CF Montreal yesterday in exchange for $50,000 in general allocation money. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenizer Home Services, your next day heating system installation experts with the knowledge and support to get the job done quickly and reliably. Call or visit them online at Rodenizer.com to schedule today. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Kulak now coming to the near side. Will play it across ice. Here's Arvidsson into the Bruins zone. He'll shoot and score into the empty net. And with 3:35 to go, the Oilers
put out a lot of content. Not only are us and Joe Murray show live, clips from all the shows, and you can watch our show in its totality at your leisure. And there's always people like Billy Jaffe in studio to make things very hot and exciting. Hello, Billy.
Good morning. I know it's beyond the statute of limitations for saying this because we're past a week, but Happy New Year to you guys.
Absolutely.
It's the first time I've seen you, talk to you, and been around you.
Happy New Year, Billy.
Thank you.
They're married to that Curb Your Enthusiasm meme. So listen.
And I heard, by the way, it's 6:20 in the morning, hearing you talk about having offspring at 55 years old.
Yeah.
Tough way to wake up.
Why?
Don't do it.
I could gift. I could
what do you
gift.
think? I've just been telling him for years.
I don't want to get off on the tangent.
I could gift the world more of me.
Just go get the vasectomy and do it.
I'm not getting a vasectomy.
Just go do it.
Nope.
Oh
I did an at-home test. I'm all right. All right, look.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Listen, it's under 22 million. We're good. All right, listen. Billy Jaffe. I went into the kitchen and Billy Jaffe was eating, shoving into his face toast and bagels and everything else.
Really?
In the sun.
Well, it was a piece of toast that I just skated and I was starved.
I was going to say, I bet you already
did.
had your morning skater morning workout.
Yeah. And then Christian comes around with these bagels that were outstanding. He's like, I got to try one of these instead of the toast. So I did. So I only did a part because I'm actually going out to breakfast after this. So anyways, nothing like
You're
a little
eating and then you got to eat again?
Eating a piece of toast and a half a bagel is not eating. That's appetizing.
Billy, do you think you eat because you're heavy, or are you heavy because you eat?
I'm definitely heavy because I eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you covering up, Bill?
What happens when the eating habits stay the same and you don't work out as much?
Oh, you get fat.
Okay.
You look like I did on the ice this morning.
How does that bagel make you feel?
Yeah.
Emotionally or physically?
Emotionally.
Oh, absolutely awful. All right.
Because that
I guess we're not talking about that.
Because that dopamine rush ain't going to last forever,
No, it's
Billy.
not gonna. I am definitely
Do you find
an
yourself
emotional eater.
thinking about things like going out to breakfast on Wednesday after I do the show?
You know,
you have to dangle that carrot, Billy, in order to get through.
At least I can justify eating it after skating for an hour.
Are you looking forward to the company or the meal?
Today, both. But, you know, the meal's first usually.
Yeah.
I am such an eater.
All right. Well, listen.
I'm not drinking. I'm barely drinking right now. Barely.
Is it dry January or did you quit drinking?
No, I haven't. I didn't quit because
I understand.
I had like a few days, but no, not before. I haven't been drinking probably since October, much at all.
Okay. Yeah. Do you feel better?
No.
Because you weren't drinking enough where you felt better.
Right. I'm not. I wasn't a huge drinker.
Right.
No, but anyways, do I feel better? I'm hoping it's healthier. But
it's obviously healthier.
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol is
I felt like having a drink after last night's game.
Yeah. I'll tell you this.
Why? They look good.
Yeah, and why was that affect you so much?
Hey, Billy, there's snake bit. I actually used that term last week after one of the games where they were snake bit last week.
And isn't it amazing
last
how
night? Last night was not
the case.
No, they did not. No, they were not at all. You cannot, and I know you wouldn't make that statement. Last night's game, they started poor. They started cautious. They started with too much respect, too much for the opponent, which is amazing considering a couple of weeks ago in Edmonton, they came out absolutely on fire at the end of a road trip. You know, remember they were out in Edmonton. I know they lost the game in the third and they OT, but at least their structure, their defensive presence, not just in the D zone, but in the neutral zone was outstanding. And their physicality, their presence was great. And this was the antithesis last night.
Okay, so Marchand said something after the game. I didn't hear it, but I was reading about it. Something to the effect of our identity of this team is defense, defensive identity and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which roster-wise and on paper, he's right. However, it does bother me when I hear Brad Marchand say it, or if I think that Marchand and Pastrnak are thinking defensively first. These are the guys who are supposed to be able to still score goals for you, even though they haven't been scoring a lot. And if defense is the identity, then why aren't they better at playing just fundamentally better defense?
Well, they were for a while, and now they're not. And as lame as that sounds, it shows, I guess, at how fleeting it can be, Hardy. Meaning, you know, you go into the break, you come out, even your game against the Capitals, I know you lose, what was a 3-1 empty net goal, but you really played better at 5-on-5 with structure and team defense.
I agree with that.
So, okay. And no, what did we call it? Attaboys or silver lining there or anything, because you still end up losing and it's a win and loss league. But your structure has to be there. Your identity has to be there that you can get the puck back and then go on offense. You can't even think about, if you want to play one way, meaning I know what you're saying about Pastrnak and Marchand. Though, Pastrnak is your ultimate pure goal scorer, and then Marchand's your other big point producer. I get it. But it's no good if you're above the puck, cheating, flying the zone. I'm using that as an example. If you don't have the puck and your structure's not there defensively, you're screwed. So what they're saying is that protect the middle, get it back, and then go. And then get it. And it's so striking. They're not an off-the-rush team. They are an off-the-cycle team. It's so strikingly obvious that when they do have it and they get it deep and they work it, and they've played the Caps twice, they beat them once and they lost once, but both times, where did they win the battles? From half wall down low below the goal line. But if they're not going to, in the last couple of games, they have completely gotten away from good D, confident D, and then trying to make things happen. And last night, the turnovers. See, that to me says that, and we talked about this on Morning Brew that came out this morning early, is that they were just trying to do too much with the puck in certain areas of the ice, right around the blue line, the offensive zone blue line, which when you're going against one of the fastest teams in the league.
I heard you say something about that last night, like trying to make, you could see like and you could see like almost like a thought process, like
one of those pop-up bubbles over their head. Like,
what would be the best thing to do? It's like, man, especially when you're leaving your zone and going through the neutral zone, it's just got to happen. It's got to be there. If you want any flow, you want any entry into their zone, that hopefully you ingrain some of that in practice, but there's no time to think about it in those moments.
No.
And it looks like they're thinking about it.
And then they would bring the puck back into that danger zone about 4 to 6 feet, either in front of or behind the blue line, and then that's just woe areas.
They are hanging on to third place. Tampa's 1 point behind them. They visit Tampa tomorrow, and I actually played them twice in the next 3 games.
But Tampa has 5 games in hand.
5 games in hand. You're making my point for me. Defensively, you say, it has been good, it hasn't been good. You know how many times they've given up 4 goals or more in a game this season?
5 goals or more. I believe it's 8 or 9 now.
It's 14 times
for 4.
they've given up 4 goals or more this season, and they just signed their goaltender to how big of a contract? And I understand it's not all his fault; it's the people in front of him. But
everybody, he's included. Everybody has to be better.
Okay, so my point is, even when they do play good defense, they don't score goals. When they don't score goals, they give up 7. It's never just one
and having to
thing
play
with this
that way,
team.
Johnny, is a tough way to play too.
Well, that's the thing.
But they have no choice.
This leads me to my overall point, which is I'm very worried about them missing the playoffs. And the crowd was not friendly last night for the second half of that game. I think we're segueing into anger to apathy.
And
that's
John's
the
right.
biggest danger about
What you
this.
have to remember, if you're a fan, is that it's hard to remember, but I lived here. In 2006,
Dave
Lewis, I got season tickets to the Bruins next to the Bruins bench, and I couldn't give the tickets away. I thought I was going to make my money back, and they're teetering around that building.
Billy, and I don't think I'm overstating this. We're heading in that direction. Bruins fans are sick of this.
Well, they have to be. You don't want to be stuck in that malaise of mediocrity, right? Meaning you got to be careful. But on the other hand, I'm not ready to say, they're going to be okay. I'm with you that they're in a battle for the playoffs, John. I'm with you on that.
They got a lot of teams that are right behind them. And they played more games than all of them.
Yeah, Montreal is 2 points, and I think 1 game in hand on them behind them. Which
everybody has games in hand on this team.
So
and
this
team
is a time
is not playing well.
This is a time that they have to look, perhaps not just from within, because we were talking about it. Do you probably got to consider calling somebody up. I don't know if they're going to for these next 2 games, given that it's the mom's trip heading, and they've got everybody in town, etc. I don't know, but maybe. There has to be a look as well saying something needs to be done perhaps to not just spark the team short term, but maybe help it long term.
Yeah, they got to make a trade.
Well, they have to find a partner who's willing to help with
that
too.
But they need a shake-up trade, and I've heard people that cover the NHL make that point, is that there needs to be a shake-up trade.
And I can't imagine that it's not being discussed daily.
Okay, so who would be like a candidate? I know you hear Frederick a lot as a guy that could be moved. Like who?
Listen, if you're talking a real hockey trade, I'm going to give you an honest but a lame answer. Everybody's in consider. If you're talking a real hockey trade, but
that's
it's hard
not true.
to do. All right, Pasternak's not.
Marchand is not either.
No, Marchand could. I would argue that McAvoy and Pasternak. Maybe they would trade McAvoy. Pasternak's not going to.
I don't traded. Listen. Who it's about.
Swayman ain't getting traded. I can tell you that.
It's about again. It's a lame answer because I understand you want names, but here's the deal.
All right, here's the deal.
Team. Listen, the team that you're dealing with. What do they need?
Right. Okay, but I'm not making this up. Trent Frederick has been discussed in NHL circles as being. We talked about it. Is there anyone? Your GM. I know you deal with the team and stuff like that, but you're not throwing anyone under the bus here. If you're the GM and you're looking at this team and the guy is good, you need a trade partner. You need someone who's attractive to another team. And you're looking to shake things up. You're not looking to mortgage the future. You're looking to make a hockey trade, even if it makes you a little worse. Let's put that caveat on it. But looking towards the future. Aside from Frederick, is there anyone on this team that you think is a movable, desirable piece?
I do. I still think that there's guys that, if a team needs help in net, Jonas Korpisalo has proven that he's played well. So there's a guy again, but now that you also need a backup goalie. So that's a tough move to make. You can go through the lineup. There are players there. I think just about everybody, Fred.
Like, is Carlo an attractive trade partner for
yes,
someone?
Yes,
he is. He is. Would you wouldn't trade Lindholm, would you?
Not right now.
Okay.
I wouldn't. But again, I'm going to say this. If somebody makes you an offer that helps you you think it helps you significantly. For the most part, I'm thinking everybody out there.
Yeah, but there's guys that they can't get rid of. They can't get rid of Swayman. They can't get rid of Elias Lindholm. There's going to be guys that
it's a reality. This isn't a negative thing. It's a reality of the business. But the problem is making trades is nowhere near as easy as it was, especially, forget a decade, but 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, when you didn't have this, or you had a different salary cap, and it was a whole different world.
I wonder if they'd be willing just to be bold and to take a chance, just because what's there to lose?
If you're going to help your team and you got to do something, then you got to do it. But listen, this team, we've said this. Well, we talked about it on the hockey show, not on your show. We've been off for a couple of weeks, but we're going to know a ton about this team. We're finding out, I think, a lot about the team, and we're going to know a little more. Where did they go? Tampa, then Florida, and then back home against Tampa.
Yep.
And then after that, I think it's San Jose. I don't remember.
I'm looking at it right here.
Regardless, the next 3 games, you're talking mid-January, and if you're in an 8-game quandary, then you're going to be everything's going to be on the table, bud.
All right,
everything has to be on the table at that point, and I'm still going to try and hold out hope, given that, again, John, I'm going to go back to this. They're definitely in a battle for it. You look at where they are in the standings, you look at percentage points.
There's no way you can spin the fact that they are fighting for their lives here.
No, you can't spin that. They are right now. They are in that middle ground, and these next couple of games, maybe that causes them to do something as well. If they don't get out of this. It's obvious they have to. They got to figure it out. They've got to be smarter with the puck. They've got to play.
I wish there was just something Bruins fans could hang on to and go, okay, but at least we have that.
All right, well, we can hang on to this, is that we have to break, and that Billy is got a breakfast to attend.
Oh,
even
that's
though
right.
he's already had
my
breakfast.
mistake, sorry.
Where are you going to breakfast?
10:30.
Where are you going?
Meeting Dedham. Heading down to Dedham.
Oh,
well.
That's Hardy's neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm going to Hardy's.
You're going to Hardee's? You're going to get yourself one of those crappy burgers.
No, he meant my house.
Oh!
Which he's not.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
But he'd be welcome.
Of course he would. You going to that breakfast joint at Legacy?
I think so.
Yeah.
Toast?
Yeah, I haven't been there.
No, this
I haven't
chain.
either.
Boo.
I don't know. I'm going there meeting a buddy.
There's some small business owner shaking his fist at the clouds.
Should have gone to Johnny's.
There's a toast at the Chestnut Hill Mall.
Yeah, but my buddy's driving up from so we're meeting in the middle.
Okay.
It's going to get.
Have him come up if you really cared. You'd go to Johnny's.
Me. I go to privately owned businesses, but that's just the way I roll. I try to help the little guy, but
I love the little guy too.
Fat Cat Billy Jaffe, networking Billy
I
Jaffe.
found a place the other day that I loved in Belmont. It was great.
Maybe you love people, not things.
That's true.
All right.
I did.
Maybe you love people and not food.
That's hard. I think I love dogs and food more.
You want a dog?
I have a dog.
Yeah, you want another?
Let's run that back.
My wife does, but I don't.
All right, well, we can make a negotiation. I'll call Victoria and we'll
you'll
make
get a kick
deal.
out of my T-shirt today.
What's that? I can't see it. You've got a.
It says
like golf and dogs, maybe 3 people. That's
Yeah.
cute. It's true.
That sounds right.
What's it say?
I like golf and dogs and maybe 3 people.
Did they write that for you? I mean, that's got Hardy written all
That's
over
a lot
it.
on the T-shirt.
That's a lot of fun. What child gave that to you?
My wife.
Yeah, that sounds like
It is
a
true, though.
a real well thought out.
It is true.
All right, well, listen, you had to be thrilled.
See you guys.
I'm wearing it.
Yeah, underneath the sweatshirt. All right, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
freezing out.
Won't see you next week. I might see you next week. I got to fly out to the NHL Network. I don't know. I don't remember what time.
Well,
Maybe I
listen,
can run
Secaucus waits for no man. All right,
Later.
thank you,
Goodbye.
Billy Jaffe.
Goodbye.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. And Hardy, the Athletic, has a piece about Gerod Mayo and just how bad things were. I heard Mike Giardi talking to Andrew Callahan. It was over there on the computer. They were talking, and Giardi said he talked to a player who didn't want to be named, who said he knew. It sounded like David Andrews. I'm just going to say it. The way it was described, a guy who had been with the team a lot and like seen success is like, I think, the way he'd been described. And there's like two of them. So let's just say it was a guy like David Andrews. I don't know anything. I haven't talked to Mike Giardi in a year and a half. But I like him, but I haven't talked to him in a year and a half. But and the guy said he knew in the spring that he knew that Mayo was a problem. And so there is an article at The Athletic. Now, take some of this with a grain of salt. When people get removed from organizations, a lot of stuff flows both ways. Then all this, we've seen this a million times. Out comes all the voices.
Here comes the hit piece.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Red Sox from Masters had it for a while.
I understand that. I understand it's a cliche, but it's true. I mean, and it's not the writer's fault. It's just that people are very open when things start changing. Or the end of a season. Go ahead.
So Chad Graff in The Athletic today starts off by talking about the loss against Arizona, which was, by many people's estimation, one of the worst products. I mean, it was just not non-competitive, terrible game. All right, so plane rides in the NFL are typically quiet after losses. Coaches and execs sit up front, players toward the back. But in a move that surprised some at the front of the plane after such a lopsided loss, according to a team source, Mayo, team's first-year head coach, who had been handpicked by owner Robert Kraft to succeed Bill Belichick, left his spot near the front and went back to where some players had gathered to play cards, choosing to hang out there while his assistants watched film. On a night when the frustration over a terrible performance had some wondering if their jobs were about to be in jeopardy, it was surprising to at least one person at the front of the plane to see the head coach mingling with players in such a casual way. A lot of ways to do the job, said the source. It's not that Gerod's way was definitely wrong, but I can't say I've seen that before.
Well, is anyone outside of Zolak going to pretend to know the intricacies
what that means
of coaches on plane rides? Like, I mean, I get it. That's not a damning. Wow, he went back and talked to players. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, sure.
Okay, so
again, this is a new year. I'm not pretending to know if that's a bad thing or not.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound like a.
If you want to get to some of the meat of it, okay, from day one, and maybe this goes back to the spring, like we were talking about. Mayo ran into issues. Started while he was trying to build out his coaching staff. His Rolodex was tiny.
Yep.
Interviewed more than a dozen candidates before Alex Van Pelt accepted the role. With the defensive coordinator role, the other most important spot on his staff, Mayo was surprisingly decisive. Even though Steve Belichick had been the Pats' defensive play caller in recent years, Mayo didn't offer him the chance to continue, according to a source, opting instead for DeMarcus Covington. Mayo offered Steve a lesser role, but the young Belichick declined, left to become the coordinator at Washington. And this season, the Patriots' drop-off on defense was the biggest reason for their struggles. Ranked 8th in the league in defensive EPA per play in 2023, they ranked 30th in that category this season.
Okay, so here's what I'll say, is that you lost the best defensive coach of all time, so the defense was going to get worse. Steve Belichick, the last time I saw him, was in a car with his dad recruiting in South Carolina. It was pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic. I would, in a million years, not do what Steve Belichick is doing. In a trillion years. And if I was Bill, I wouldn't do what Bill's doing. I have a son who's into sports. I have a daughter who would want to be in an audio radio. I would not put my daughter on this show.
The other part of it is
full-time and pay her. I would not.
The other
for her own good. Go ahead.
This bears mentioning. Washington, where Steve Belichick was the defensive coordinator last year, they were really good defensively. He can do the job.
That's fine.
He's good at it.
Not,
so he should stay where he was.
Right,
that was my
fair
point.
Enough. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it's not like he needs his father to get jobs. He got a job outside of his dad,
which we all agreed was the right thing to do.
A good move for him, and he was on track. I mean, Washington by themselves were not a particularly great football team, but defensively they were good. So he can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's something going on.
So more
something going on like with this making up for lost time or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Strange.
Like, I don't want to infer anything, but it sounds.
I didn't mean to rub in your face with that corn maze thing. So why don't you come work with your old man?
Yeah,
North
sorry.
Carolina?
Maybe that's the reason Steve went to keep an eye on him and make sure it really doesn't finish off this relationship.
Did you see the video of him on Pat McAfee, like in the car? He couldn't look older. It was like he's just an old fat man. And he's out there taking pictures in the corn maze with a 24-year-old.
And the other part of it is I saw yesterday pictures of him recruiting and standing with these high school kids.
And he is so old.
And he's buttoned down. He's got the Carolina blue suit on. I'm like, oh, stop it.
He looks terrible. And that makes it all the funnier. Thank you for reminding me. I'd forgotten with all these coaching controversies that Bill Belichick was banging a 24-year-old and putting it all over the internet.
Hadn't been mentioned in the new year.
No, I'd forgotten about it.
You're right.
I'd forgotten about it.
That's right.
I'd forgotten how funny that is. But one day someone will study the relationship between Bill and his children and why this is all happening.
All right,
it's not something I do, but go ahead.
More from the Athletic piece on Gerod Mayo. So they've covered, assembling the staff. They covered how he went back to play cards with players after the loss at Arizona. Here's one: discipline and how to enforce it. Before the Week 17 game, he told broadcast crews he was going to bench Ramondre Stevenson because of recent fumbles, but when it was time to do so, he had a change of heart. I still don't know what happened with that, a team source said. Honestly, Gerod is a good guy. I just don't think he was ready for all the big decisions and discipline and focus the job takes.
Which is, again, all of this is obvious. Like when you hired Gerod Mayo and he had a small Rolodex, you shouldn't have hired him. There was no one around him to teach him how to do all this stuff, to run it, to be a voice of authority. There was no one around. You didn't give him anyone that could have helped him. There was no way Gerod Mayo, given his experience in this team, was going to have success. Go ahead.
The other part of that graph piece, and I don't know if you were going to get to this or not, Hardy, is that obviously the theory was to have Mayo as the coach and waiting for 2 years, let Belichick tutor him, get him ready.
But Belichick wouldn't tutor him.
But that's the point the article makes. The article makes because the Patriots went south in Belichick's last year, Belichick cut off communication with a lot of people, kept his close circle even tighter, and didn't tutor Mayo about anything because he was too worried about covering his own ass. And so then when the time came and Belichick left, Kraft's like, well, obviously Mayo didn't get the tutoring he wanted, but he still went ahead and promoted him anyway.
And so think of all the wasted paranoia that Belichick went through. Like all that small circle paranoia, and it cost him his job early. And think of the years that he wasted. If he wasn't paranoid and he would have mentored Mayo, I bet you he wouldn't have gotten fired. I just bet you things would have been different. He wouldn't have made the Patricia Judge call. He became so paranoid and insular, and it didn't help him. So he could have, A, been happier as a person, just not being paranoid. B, the organization would have been better off. And C, if the Patriots saw him working with a coach in waiting and everything was simpatico, certainly that wouldn't have hurt the team.
And it would have smoothed things over with the boss. Yeah.
And it's okay, I know I'm gone after a year, and you would have saved this whole humiliation of getting fired, which everyone does, but you get fired, and then you go, complain about the team for a year in the media, and then you go take a college job at a 1AA school. So, I mean, some ACC also ran. So the wisdom I glean from that is paranoia is no friend to you. Well, think about it. If I was paranoid and I was aware of everything that was going on.
Is that what your T-shirt says underneath your sweatshirt?
Paranoia is not your friend.
Mine says I like dogs and golf and maybe 3 people. Yours says paranoia is no friend to you.
Right off the Life is Good rack.
But when Costanza says in the episode for the Festivus, but that not so good. I don't remember. Not so good. But the paranoia served him no purpose. Isn't that wisdom that we can glean, gentlemen?
Yes.
You laugh at these life lessons that I'm giving you, but
no, I think that's pretty straightforward. Well done.
If I sat around paranoid about my job all the time, it would serve me no good. No, I managed to coast through a whole dethroning, and I didn't know what was going on, and then I ended up not knowing about it, and it all worked out in the end. I'm glad I didn't know about it. So what my point is, paranoia.
Not your friend.
Laugh at it all you want. I just gave you a little nugget.
It's only fair to
This is why my
recognize that
kids are going
Mayo.
to be Supreme Court justices.
It's only fair to recognize that Mayo was dealt a bad hand. The roster he was given by Belichick and Wolf was more flawed and devoid of talent than any other in the league. In the end, Mayo was done no favors with the situation he was dropped into, but he also didn't do much to help himself.
It was a bad hiring, and I feel bad for Gerod Mayo because I just from my own experiences. So because I sort of knew him,
had him on the show.
He had success in private business. He was a great captain. He's a good leader. Like, he's proven himself as a capable guy who could, in the right circumstances, be a head coach in the NFL. And I just saw something, I think it might have been the Globe, that guys who get fired after their first year almost never get another shot. So Kraft really effed them. And you got to think, if you're Mayo, maybe you don't take that job. Maybe you don't take the job. Maybe you don't sign the contract that you're going to be the successor. Maybe you look at it and go, this isn't the best situation for me. Best case scenario, I'm following Belichick. I know him. He's not going to talk to me. I don't want this job. Much like the Steve Belichick thing. Maybe it's better I go get a coordinator position with another team, prove my worth as defensive coordinator. For a couple years, I make $2.5 million, $3 million a year, and then I go off and I get my head coaching job.
Yeah,
the fallback options for a guy like Mayo aren't hard. Like, it's okay to go, I'm not ready for that job yet. I'm not going to take it yet. Oh no, I'm going to have to go make $3 million a year with less responsibility. That would be attractive to me. Look at who called plays for the Rams on Sunday. McVay didn't call plays. He let LaFleur's brother, the failed offensive coordinator for the Jets, call plays. That's not such a bad gig. I failed as an offensive coordinator for the Jets. Now I'm calling plays for the Rams, who are going to the playoffs and making $2.5-3 million a year. I'll take that gig. All right. I just don't think – I think this was all bad. Bad management. It was so bad that Mayo shouldn't have taken the job, because we all agree, and everyone agrees, he didn't stand a chance.
No.
You could have put the best guy ever with that lack of infrastructure around him, and there was no way he was gonna do it. There's no way. Rudderless. They didn't know what they were doing. The organization is built like it was 25 years ago, and it's just not the way the NFL is anymore. There's not enough people helping. I feel bad for him, because I can kind of see like what was going on. You've done probably something in your life, maybe a project already that you've taken on, and you go, oh no. Like, you start realizing, I don't have any of the tools that are required. These are expensive.
Right.
I don't even know what these terms mean.
Yeah.
They're asking me to do things that I don't even know what it means. So you've been the captain of the defense, and you've been a big shot in the locker room, and you've been a co-defensive coordinator, and you've had success at that. And then they go, all right, well, now it's all yours. And you're like, well, I don't even know what this other stuff means. Like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not supposed to go. These guys are my friends. I played with them. Like, I'm not supposed to go in back and, like, hang out. I don't know. And we've heard that it was a disaster. We've heard off air that it was a big disaster, but I don't know.
I got the wheel off, but I don't even know what a tie rod looks like. How am I supposed to swap it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. I mean, like Adam, like when you go in, the church doors are locked.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say, well, Adam, when you took over producing the Toucher and Hardy show.
No, because you had guidance there.
True.
You had such a fountain of information all over this place.
Sage wisdom.
You have Nick in the same room. He knows how to.
Yes.
Worst case scenario, you let him take over.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the worst case scenario.
Nick could handle it. I pushed very hard for Adam not to get this job and for Nick to get it.
I heard about that.
Yeah. I pushed very, very hard. I said, you know who deserves a chance? I said, just interview the kid. He'll blow you away.
And I don't know what happened after that.
Then Isaac came in.
Isaac, who I saw at the grocery store yesterday, 2 days ago.
We got to get him in.
Oh, well, you know what? Let that little man reach out and take some initiative. I don't want
Fair play.
Let Isaac. Maybe that was God telling Isaac.
Yeah.
Give Isaac a little God shot running into you in the Wegmans.
Yep.
Come on,
Maybe.
Isaac.
And Isaac had his Army fatigues on, and I'm not lying.
Make the call.
He had an Army baseball cap and an Army sweatshirt on.
Call
Great
us.
7 a.m. segment.
We'd love to hear from you.
I mean, he couldn't have been nicer. He had a big smile on his big face. It was all going pro Isaac. All right.
Say my name.
Isaac.
Hey there.
Hi, Isaac. It was nice
Hi,
seeing you.
I'm Isaac.
It was nice seeing you at Walgreens.
Hi.
I said, this is my daughter Zoe. He said, we met. And I said, yes, you have. You have. All right. We'll be back in just a moment here. That line.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics scored 15 straight points in the fourth quarter to break up a tie game. They went on to win in Denver late last night, 118-106. They go 3-1 on their road trip. They have the next 2 days off. Their next game isn't it.
Cheers.
We get to spill beers on each other without worry about spilling beers on people.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Hey, The Stack is brought to you by D'Angelo Grilled Sandwiches. Have lunch with a legend this week. D'Angelo's legendary number 9 sandwich, grilled sirloin or chicken smothered in onions, peppers, mushrooms, and American cheese. Only at D'Angelo. And know that we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make now. I said, stop it. He goes, ah! And I go, stop it.
He was like in a haze.
Ah!
Euphoric, emotion drowning, like almost like a hypnotic state, just shoving food into his face.
Do you remember when Elizabeth Berkley on Saved by the Bell was addicted to diet pills?
Yes.
And I was like Zach walking in on her, and I'm like, stop it. She's like, I can't. And I said, what's going on? I'm so excited. I'm so scared. They've released to the Boston Globe has voted for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Peter Abraham, Chad Finn, Dan Shaughnessy, Silverman, I don't know, the spear nerd guy, and Sullivan, and Tara Sullivan.
Spear nerd guy.
Oh, he's a huge nerd. It's offensive
He
how
went
nerdy
to
he is.
Harvard. Yep.
Oh, well, you don't say.
It's true.
Why? He just might as well put a billboard on his head. He dresses like he's a Yale professor. All right. Anyway, if I had to guess you, who voted for 10 people, which 2 of those people would you guess? Abraham, Finn, Shaughnessy, Silverman, Spear, and Sullivan.
Spear.
Yep.
Spear's one.
Oh, the other one's obvious.
Finn's
Chad's
the other one.
Of course,
the other one.
It's his first time voting.
Because 10 people obviously deserve to be in the Hall of Fame from every ballot. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. I'm going to give you the name. Tell me if they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
CC Sabathia.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone voted for him.
Yeah.
Ichiro.
Yes.
Of course. Both first ballot Hall of Famers, especially Ichiro. All right, now here we go. All except for one voted for Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner should not be in the Hall of Fame.
There's a guy online who, gets all the public ballots, posts them online, and shows where the trends are. Sabathia looks like he's in. Ichiro looks like he's in. And Wagner very much looks like he's in.
Well, Wagner only missed it by a little over a percentage point last year.
Can you
so
tell
Wagner,
the story of baseball without Billy Wagner?
or if I asked baseball fans, name 3 teams Billy Wagner played on. Billy Wagner was the closer for Houston.
He was the closer for the Padres for many, many years.
Also played here.
Yes.
He was a setup man here.
Did he play in Houston?
You're seeing that trend anyway, though, is that closers are starting to get their due because of the important role that they played in the modern game.
All right, but there's like 2 of them that they're like kickers in football. There's like 2 of them that should be in the Hall of Fame.
There are 4 guys using this spreadsheet that the guy who collects Hall of Fame ballots have 4 guys in right now.
Okay, so and then the other one everyone voted for was Beltran, Carlos Beltran, who's a way bigger star than Billy Wagner.
You just mentioned the 4 guys. Those are the 4 guys on the spreadsheet that would be in.
I wouldn't vote for Beltran, but I could see. I would not be offended if Beltran got in the Hall of Fame.
I wouldn't
he had
vote
big
for Wagner
moments
or Beltran.
Okay, neither would I.
No.
Chase Utley.
I'd vote for them.
4 of them votes. Of course you would. Just hippie. Chase
Don't
Utley.
call me hippie.
All right, socialist.
No.
That's fine.
No.
Chase Utley.
No.
4 of them voted for Chase Utley.
No, he does not belong in the Hall of Fame.
No.
Andrew Jones, I lived in Atlanta when he played there. He was not even a star on that team.
Overrated guy on good teams.
According to this, he's very close.
Well, I'll tell you this.
72%.
I got news for you. You could get into Braves games for $1. I probably went to 20 a year.
By the way,
no one cared about Andrew Jones.
You know
Go
who's
ahead.
not close? Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah, he shouldn't be.
Dustin
in the Hall of
Pedroia is not close at all.
Fame. 3 of them voted for David Wright because why not? You got to vote.
What?
Finn and Spear, the big expert Spear, the
David
dork,
That's
voted for David
embarrassing.
Wright.
David Wright on 10% of the known ballots.
Would you vote in Felix Hernandez or David Wright?
David Wright, no. Felix Hernandez, I'd have to think
Felix
about.
So
Hernandez
only
would be
one
a
of them
better
voted
bet.
for. Only one of them voted for Felix Hernandez, the nerdy guy.
Now, Felix Hernandez would be a much better bet than David Wright.
What are you giggling about?
Alex Spear
The
is his
nerdy,
name.
yeah, Alex Spear.
Alex Spear is his name.
I mean, but he's
Very good baseball writer.
revoltingly Ivy League. I mean, he's really putting on a show with his glasses and jackets.
I only did one thing with him once.
You're like no fun.
I did one thing with him once on TV, and I don't think he was in the mood to suffer my foolishness.
Oh, why would you? You were trying to entertain on an entertainment medium? He had statistics to do.
By the way, before we go, A-Rod, according to this, on 43% of the ballots.
He did steroids. You can't let him in if you're not going to let in Roger Clemens and the rest. Manny Ramirez isn't going to make it either. I mean, if you let one of them in, all of them, you got to grandfather everyone else in.
To be fair to Alex, too, I don't think he wanted to suffer through what I had to say because I had no idea what I was talking about. But, you can humor a fella.
Well, that's if you didn't know. There's no way you could be entertaining without having your facts straight. I mean, Lord knows you're talking about sports. I mean, everyone needs to. The information has to be dead on. Yeah, you talk about sports 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Every piece of information has to be spot on. It has to come out of the computer. What a waste of a degree, if you ask me. He could be the nicest guy in the world, but I'm telling you, if I sent my kids to the Ivy League school and they came out and they said, I'm writing for I'm doing Nesson, I'd be like, woof, local cable, thumbs down. I'd be like, you're paying I guess what? Your kids ain't going to an Ivy League school.
T-Bone went to Northeastern.
Northeastern's expensive.
I went there.
Yeah, but
Okay,
you went
Adam
out of
12.
scholarship.
It wasn't expensive then.
Yeah, I know. Was Northeastern a good school then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on the come up.
Okay, because it's a very good school now. All right, and surprisingly, I didn't think it was, but it is. I got into BU in the General Studies program. That shows you the extent of that college.
Mazel tov.
Just like Howard Stern.
That's right.
Hey,
I'm just like him. All right, that'll do it for us. Bye.
Stay tuned for more.